Fool me.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Well, everybody being Tim
Hi,
Van
folks.
Ram.
In Galapagos.
Hey, Tim.
He's riding the giant tortoises.
On the way to the Shell
Oh,
station.
oh, all the tortoises I saw on the way to the Shell station. Oh, God, that's awful.
Wah, wah, wah.
Don't encourage him, Jeff.
Mazuz, good evening. I-Hole boxes. Yoo-hoo.
Hello. Some witty
good.
banter
I
today,
didn't
then.
defend I-Haul boxes as enough.
No,
he's
he's back.
back.
He's
Still
back for more
coming back for
punishment.
more.
More punishment.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been flying
I
since
do
3 o'clock.
apologize for. I didn't
been fine.
realize that English was not your native language.
He's been flying since 3 o'clock Z or Z.
Oh,
What's
3
what
o'clock
time
in the morning.
is it now?
Wow.
What'd you do to him?
19
I hope he's
He was just, well, he was commenting on something, and then I-Hole boxes said that
I
English.
criticized his apostrophe usage, which is something I should never do. I couldn't help myself.
You're part of the apostrophe police. I sent
I
you
know.
that article.
I hate that. I hate that. I know. I saw that and I thought, oh, I know why you sent that to me, because you wanted to shame me.
Well, I tried, but you have no shame. so-
Job well done. I have no shame.
he's shameless.
I'm just shameless.
Indeed.
Thanks, Liz. Shut up. I'm
Well,
just
he
kidding.
tries to shame me and my lack of apostrophe usage. So
But and then she starts cracking her whip and getting me back into shape.
yeah, exactly.
I hope I
You
remember
love
to
it.
play this for that one, the runway excursion.
Okay, everybody, come outside. Everybody ready for a wild, wet ride?
Yeah.
That could be so rude.
Slip
That could
and
be
slide.
So rude.
Yeah, it is. That's what we do here.
But we love it.
Rude
Rude is our
Is
middle
our-
name.
is our middle name. Jeff Rude Nielsen. That's my middle name.
I think there's a brand of like water heaters and stuff like that are rude. RUUD, rude.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, please. Podcasts are verbal narcissism for ugly journalists.
That's funny. I've never heard that one before.
Here's a question. If you're an instructor and you teach jet upset training, are you an upset instructor?
Probably.
And if you're
Yeah.
if you're mad, are you an upset instructor?
Upset square.
Yes.
Or no.
That's weird,
Indeed.
exactly.
Do we? Is this are you talking about the Hawker story?
Hey, Micah.
He's just making jokes.
No,
I was making jokes because I was reading Captain Jeff's intro because he's a USAF UPT instructor, and I thought, what does that stand for? Upset instructor?
gotcha.
No, undergraduate
Okay.
pilot training. I guess I should say pilot training instructor.
There we go.
A PT instructor. You know,
I was-
one of those is over in my country, a physical training instructor.
Well, maybe that's what I'm talking
Exactly.
about. Maybe that's what I
Do
did.
PT.
Well, there was I only asked because there was an accident a couple days ago with a Hawker that was doing
Walker.
it was on a stall flight. So, coming out of heavy maintenance, they have to go up and do some sort of stall regime that you don't normally do in a jet. And it looks like the jet kind of plummeted in from like 15 or 18,000 feet. And one of the things they were talking about was that one of the instructors or one of the pilots was a upset instructor.
Oh, boy.
So that's what I thought you were referencing.
The one that crashed, I'd be upset too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, they'll never know if he was upset or not.
Did they get out or not?
No, it was a business jet.
Oh, a Hawk. So
A
when you said
Hawker business jet. Hawker
I was
125.
I was thinking,
Or not 125, but like a
the trainer
850
Think
or
that,
something.
of Nick's Hawkers.
Yeah.
Nick's Hawkers. Hawkers.
Hawker.
No, it was a hawk.
A hawk.
Hawk.
It was a British aerospace hawk.
Okay, well, I was completely way off on all of it. Apparently.
Love it. Oh no, I didn't catch that at all. That's
So I hate to tell everybody.
15,000 feet. They couldn't
I
get.
don't remember
it
how
out.
high.
That's
Let
still-
me see if I can find.
I didn't
it.
hear about that.
Yeah.
Send it
See
to
if I
me.
can
We
find
might
it.
put it in the show next week.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be probably in the aerosafety.net, probably. Probably not in Aviation Herald because it's not
No.
a commercial aviation.
So we were hoping to have Captain Rick on today, but apparently he's having internet issues where he is. That's what he's telling us.
Network connection issues.
He's out where those big storms were happening in California.
You should try flying Airbus. That would help.
MD-82 accident on the 9th of February.
Let's see.
That's today. Sustained substantial damage when it was involved in an accident at Malakal Airport in South Sudan.
Oh boy, things are always happening in South Sudan.
That's an
Oh, here's
old
the
airplane.
Is the is the Hawker you were talking about, the 900 XP
Yeah.
near Loma, Colorado?
Yep. I just dropped a link in the private chat, but yeah, it's
Gotcha.
Okay, I'll put it in for next week.
It was destroyed when it impacted terrain near Loma. Both pilots were killed.
yeah, somewhere I saw somewhere that somebody had the I'm having a brain fart here. ATC, they had the ATC cut out from live ATC with them talking on
Oh,
Center or something, and they asked for a block. You know, they were climbing, and they asked for a block altitude for maneuvering in the mid-teens or something like that, which is abnormal for a jet,
Right.
obviously. So that's why people were saying they thought it was possibly
Stall
a
spin.
stall flight or something,
yeah.
a stall test flight.
That's not good.
Nope.
That's not
Bad for
good.
your health. Okay, so let's see.
We
Should
ready to
I-
rock and roll here?
Well, let me just have you contacted Miami?
I have not.
Rick? All right, let me.
Does he not get good enough? Like, can he hotspot his phone? Maybe.
That's what I would do.
I was really hoping he was going to be here because I'm going to be in Phoenix next week. I was going to try to link up with him.
Kind of mooch jock.
Let's see.
Hey, Jeff has gotten 3 people have sent in their information for him to go and stay with them in his RV so
Yay.
far.
One in
so far.
Kansas, one in not too far from Stearman Field.
Burns,
Burns,
Kansas.
I think.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. Do you want me to send
No.
you my information also?
No, I know you. I have your information.
He'll just show up at your place. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't. I don't.
Burns,
need any
Kansas,
invitation.
Gilroy, California, and
Oh,
somewhere in
Gilroy, California is
Colorado.
nice.
Yeah, Garlic
Just south
City,
of the
isn't it?
bay.
Garlic,
Yeah.
capital of the world, and there's one in Colorado too.
Let's see.
Can't remember the name.
You gonna make it today?
The other one is in Longmont, Colorado. Longmont.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Longmont.
Yeah. Oh, Tim Van Ram experienced his first go around coming into Guayaquil, Ecuador.
That was probably fun.
Is Tim Van Ram really somewhere
Yeah,
else?
Yeah, he's in Ecuador.
Must not be feeling very confident about the Super Bowl. He had to run out of the country.
Oh, burn.
That's Tim's fighting words.
Hey, Jeff, iHub
Yeah.
Oxus wants to know, where does he send the request, the invitation for him to come and stay in your RV?
I am offended at airlinepilotguide.com.
Yeah. No, on the last show, Jeff was asking people who were stupid enough, willing to have him come and stay at their place
Thanks, Liz.
to send in
So
their information.
The nice thing about having an RV, right, is that like they don't actually have to
No.
deal with Jeff. They just
No,
have
they
to
don't even have to
give
let
him
me
a.
in their
They just
house.
have to give him a hose to fill up his water and a place to dump his poop, and then he's all set.
They can,
Well, I
they can
don't
make
think
a
most people are gonna have
stipulation.
a place for
You know,
me to dump my poop.
no entry in the house can be one of the rules, right?
As a token of my appreciation, I'm going to give you some of my poop.
Yeah, that's right. You can grow tomatoes in it.
We can start selling it as merchandise.
Actually, the macerator that I have on this thing, I could probably, put it into somebody's toilet, but I'm never going to try that because it would be a disaster, possibly. I don't want to make that kind of an impression on people. Like, what's that smell? Well, about 20
Idaho
years
Boxes
ago, this
wants to-
guy came
Idaho
over and was
Boxes-
dumping this tank in my
Idaho
toilet.
Boxes wants to know if the ladies are lining up, Jeff, asking you to stay with them in between the spreadsheets.
In between the spreadsheets. Yeah, no such luck.
Not yet.
What is your
such a-
range on that RV? Like, how many days could you go with all the system, like the water
You mean like
tanks and
boondock without hookups
yeah,
and stuff? Yeah, that the limiting factor is going to be the holding tanks. I have 35 gallons of fresh water, or 36, something like that. And then I think the black tank is 30 and the gray is like 25 or something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers right offhand, but that's basically fresh water and filling up the holding tanks.
Do you know how many, like each flush of the toilet is how many gallons? Do you know?
I would imagine is probably an RV toilet. Probably it's as much as you fill the bowl with, but probably a half gallon.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
Oh,
must be
okay.
like a quarter or half
Okay.
gallon.
Yeah.
Okay,
something
that's
like
not
that,
bad then.
But you want to be. But they say I don't know. I don't have any experience whatsoever except for that time that we had the brief time that we had that RV in Oshkosh. Is that and I didn't know anything about this stuff back then. But I know a lot more now because I've been doing a lot of research. They say one of the big mistakes that a lot of people make is they don't use enough water going into the black tank. And that's when people start having problems.
Get plugged up? Things get plugged up?
Well, having, and I hate, this is kind of insensitive, so hold your ears, but poop pyramids in your black tank.
Oh, boy.
Just use your
Okay,
imagination.
yeah,
Kind of like
yeah,
the little,
okay. Yeah.
little emoticon thing.
Yes.
That's a poop pyramid. And people think, that they're trying to, preserve their water as much as
Sort of
they
like a
can.
Dairy Queen ice cream cone.
Exactly. But you try to, you need to have as much water. And Tim, I'm sure, I don't know if he's chiming in or not here. Maybe he is, because he's the one that has
He's making a crude comment about Arrowhead
there's
Stadium.
Oh, he is.
Arrowhead Stadium. He's the one that has a lot of experience with this. So Tim, if
IHL
I'm saying
box is
something wrong, let me
demonstrating.
know.
There's IHL box is sent in a poop pyramid there.
Did he? Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
Obviously, he has experience with that.
All right, can we get on with this?
Okay.
Get off this
Yeah, I
topic.
have not received any response
Yeah, right.
from Rick.
I guess
Oh
it's
wait,
been
no, I did. It says, "I'm hoping I can. It's been a mess with the power and the Wi-Fi here. Power went out last night and again this morning. It's like a third world country. This place."
Is he in the place he's still visiting, or is he back home?
No,
lives
he's
in
in
California.
he's slow.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, in so
It's been a
many
rough
ways.
couple of days there.
You said that a little too happily there. He's slow.
When it came out of my mouth, I thought, "Oh, that was clever. He's slow." Yeah. So, are we communicating via the big APG crew
Oh, yeah.
thing, or is that
Steph's
what we're
going to
gonna
have to
do?
deal
Okay.
with it.
Okay. Well, mostly we're going to do Unity. Are you on Unity, Nick?
Come on.
Nick C? Just to make sure that we're all hearing what we need to hear. Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right. Let's
That's
go here to brand, and then I'll do the countdown, and then we'll start Radio Rogers intro. Guys ready?
right.
Let's do it.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy. Airline Pilot Guy, episode 605. Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 9th of February, 2024. In today's episode, a flight veers off the runway during landing in Lithuania and taxis to the gate like nothing happened. And investigators report on a loss of separation between two Qantas flights in Australia. Also ahead, more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 605 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the number one all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force jet training instructor, Starlifter pilot, retired 727, 717, and Mad Dog captain for Delta Airlines. And joining me today from his studio,
1000. In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
A former RAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Lovely to be on board again. Looking forward to a great show. Mind you, every show's a great show today. Nothing new here.
All right. Good to have you, sir. And also joining us from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, A&P mechanic, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff. Glad I could join in here. I probably won't be able to make it through the whole show, but thought I'd drop in here and provide what limited input that I can.
Yeah, we'll take what we can get, man. Great to see you. And also joining us from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Retired financier, aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hey, everybody. TGIF.
Yay, TGIF. All right. Yeah. Y'all.
Yes,
oh,
that's happening again too, Jeff. Yeah, just
started.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was just busy typing a little message.
I thought it was my headphones at first.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's StreamYard. God bless.
It's a medical
StreamYard.
condition.
Now I should be in both of your ears.
Yep.
That's good.
Have a good show, you guys.
Well, thanks,
Cheers, Liz.
We'll hear you on the back channel, so to speak. Oh, it was kind of broken up a little bit. Okay, keep talking. You guys getting a little bit broken
clipped.
Up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was getting a bit of dodgy video as well, so I don't know if that was coming from Liz.
Definitely a couple of dropouts.
Okay. Are you hardwired into the? That's probably why. Okie dokie. We're going to continue then with some aviation news.
Stand by for news.
Well, we have a preliminary report on the Alaska door plugless air flight, Alaska 1282. Let's see. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously, because we just don't have time for it all. But let me read a little bit of the preliminary on January. Oh, okay. I'm going to go down to the Aviation Herald article with a summary. Let's see. Summary. I wish it were summary. A little wintry here. Let's see. On February 6, 2024, the NTSB released their preliminary report summarizing the sequence of events. Both flight crew members held airline transport pilot certificates. Yeah, duh. The captain had accumulated about 12,700 hours of experience, of which about 6,500 were in the accident airplane make and model. The first officer had accumulated 8,300 hours total flight experience, of which 1,500 were in the accident airplane make and model. The captain was the pilot flying. The first officer was a pilot monitoring. Hang on, I just did something with my window here that I don't like. I have a new little tool for managing
But your window
windows.
fell out? Have you depressurized?
And I mean my window on my screen, not the actual window. I mean, I've had problems with my apartment, but that's not one of them, thankfully. Not yet, anyway. So I was moving it around. I have this little thing called magnet where you can kind of adjust where you have your windows on a larger screen. And apparently I'm still getting used to how that works. Okay. The captain was the pilot flying and the FO was the pilot monitoring. The flight crew stated that the pre-flight inspection, engine start, taxi, takeoff, and departure climb were unremarkable. After takeoff, the flight crew... Now, we were just talking about this before we started recording. The first officer's job is to always compliment the captain on everything he or she is doing.
Absolutely.
And to say that it was unremarkable that's not doing their job.
No, they exemplary is what you should use.
So we should read that. Everything there, engine start, taxi, takeoff, and departure climb were fabulous. Very remarkable. After takeoff, the flight crew checked in with Seattle Air Route Traffic Control, Seattle Center, we call it. Cleared to flight level 230, about 23,000 feet. Captain said that while climbing through 16,000, there was a loud bang. Flight crew said their ears popped, and the captain said his head was pushed into the heads-up display, which is right in front of him and a little above. And his head, I guess at this time it's probably moved out of the way, I'm guessing. And his headset was pushed up, nearly falling off his head. The FO said her headset was completely removed due to the rapid outflow of air from the flight deck. Both flight crews said they immediately donned their oxygen masks. They added that the flight deck door was blown open and that it was very noisy and difficult to communicate. Flight crew immediately contacted air traffic control, declared an emergency, and requested a lower altitude. The flight was assigned 10,000 feet. The captain said that he requested the rapid decompression checklist, and the FO executed the required checklist from the QRH, the Quick Reference Handbook. As the FO completed the checklist, the captain flew the airplane as they coordinated with ATC to return to the Portland airport. The flight landed on runway 28 left without further incident and taxied to the gate. The NTSB reported the two vertical movement arrestor bolts, two upper guide track bolts, forward lower hinge guide fitting, and forward lift assist spring were missing and have not been recovered. And they continued. Contact damage was noted in the lower sides of the 12 stop pins and fittings on the MED plug. Corresponding contact damage was noted on the 12 stop pads and fittings attached to the fuselage. Overall, the damage was consistent with the MED plug translating upward, outboard, and aft during the separation. And they further stated, overall, the observed damage patterns and absence of contact damage or deformation around holes associated with the vertical movement arrestor bolts and upper guide track bolts in the upper guide fittings, hinge fittings, and recovered aft lower hinge guide fitting indicate that the four bolts that prevent upward movement of the MED plug were missing before the MED plug moved upward off the stop pads. They continued the manufacturing records group traveling to Boeing's Renton, Washington facility to review manufacturing records for the accident airplanes specific to the left MED plug area. I guess that's what, mid-exit door, maybe that's what that stands for. According to records, the accident fuselage arrived at Boeing's Renton facility by rail on August 31st, 2023. During the manufacturing process, if any defects or discrepancies were found, a non-conformance record, NCR, or a disposition required, NCR, were generated. On September 1st, records show that an NCR was created, noting 5 damaged rivets on the edge frame forward of the left MED plug. Documents and photos show that to perform the replacement of the damaged rivets, access to the rivets required opening the left MED plug. To open the MED plug, the 2 vertical movement arrestor bolts and 2 upper guide track bolts have to be removed. Records show the rivets were replaced, and this work order was completed on September 19th by Spirit Aerosystems personnel who were there at Renton in the facility. Photo documentation obtained from Boeing shows evidence of the left-hand MED plug closed with no retention hardware bolts in the 3 visible locations, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's see. Anything I should jump down to highlight here? So basically, what they're saying is what everybody has suspected, that had the 4 bolts been present, it would have prevented that door from moving vertically upward, and then outward, because they have to clear all those 6 stop, what do they call that? Stop assemblies or stop whatever.
Arresters.
Yeah,
or something.
arresters or stops, I guess maybe. And yeah, that's the only way the door can possibly, move outward, is if the door or plug translated upward. And so they suspected that those bolts that Liz is showing their locations on the video here were not there. They haven't found them, and I don't think they ever will, because I don't think they were there. Is that your take, Camacho?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they were originally, Liz is telling us, but when they had to remove the door plug for the rivet repair on the left side forward of that plug door, they never, I guess, replaced the bolts when they replaced the plug. So, and again, that's what everybody has been surmising regarding this so far, but now we have official preliminary report to kind of basically say, yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I don't think we learned anything new, like you said. I think all the details of the communications between Spirit and Boeing kind of reiterates what we talked about a couple of shows ago, right? With just how important the communication is between 2 different organizations when they are taking parts off, putting parts on the same airplane, and handing tasks off back and forth. It's just, it's so easy to overlook something small like this in the scope of such a large, complex airplane, that you just really have to have robust, bulletproof procedures, both as you're building and then also as you're dealing with deviations and nonconformances, as they are here. So, this would have been an instance. This would have been like a not a routine procedure, right? They were fixing something. So somebody was opening the door or removing the door, whatever they did in the manufacturing facility. It was not a standard step on their flow, right? They identified something and they said, we got to fix that. To fix that, we got to open this door. And so that's, I'm sure that's where some of the, whether or not there was confusion, that's where the ball was dropped. It was either, the communication between Spirit, because Spirit did the repair, and then Boeing, had the airplane. So you got Spirit employees and Boeing employees, and it'd be very easy for a Boeing employee to say, well, Spirit did the repair, and that would include closing the door up. And for a Spirit employee to say, like, my job was to do the repair, which was on the rivets. Right. So I left the door as is. And
well, I guess the Boeing guys could say, well, yeah, but if you hadn't screwed up the rivet thing to begin with, we would never have had to take the door off and put it back on. So it's your fault.
Right. Which is true, but it's not realistic, right? Like people are always making mistakes in all phases of every job. And you got to just be able to rectify the mistakes without compounding them, which is what happened in this case.
That's what humans do best, right? Make mistakes.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so of course we'll be monitoring the situation. Any updates we'll provide you with as time goes on. And but yeah, it seems pretty clear cut at this point. Anything else to say?
So I was going to mention the only thing I would be curious about is what actually happened to the bolt. If they ever determined, like were the bolts found on somebody's workbench or were the bolts discarded? What sort of process they have in their facility in terms of unidentified parts or hardware or whatever.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to this next item from Aviation Herald. Let's see, it's a final report on an incident involving, I believe, 2 Qantas Boeing 730s. Oh, I did it again. Gosh, I did my patented skip a news item maneuver.
Well, it keeps you fit.
I know. Thank you. All right. I was a little confused myself because I'm thinking, wait a minute, I thought the next one was this one, the old slip and slide thing. Okay. Are we ready for the next one? All right, here we go.
Okay, everybody, come outside. Everybody ready for a wild, wet ride?
Yeah. Slip and slide. All right. This is from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Not a big surprise. A passenger plane operating a charter flight from Milan Bergamo Airport to Vilnius in Lithuania skidded off the runway after landing on Saturday afternoon, veered through a muddy field before turning back onto the runway, and then taxied to the terminal as if nothing had happened. Nothing to see here. The Avion Express operated Airbus A320 aircraft had 179 passengers and 6 crew members on board, and although the aircraft may have been slightly damaged, there were thankfully no reports of any injuries. A dramatic video of the landing, which I'm going to play right now, if we can get somebody to add that to the stage. There we go. And let me do this. There we go. From Bass Aviation. He's on top of it. Real Aviation Communications. All right. And Norvind.
Northwind 8242, 7 nautical miles to touchdown. Contact Vilnius Tower 118.205, Carpolis.
118.205, Northwind 8242, bye-bye, iki начал.
And watch out, the runway is slippery.
Northwind 8242, Labadiena, established LS 19.
Northwind 8242, Vilnius Tower, Labadiena, clear to land runway 19, wind 270.
Light drizzle, 300 over.
Clear to land runway 19, Northwind 8242.
All right, so we're showing a depiction of the airplane on the runway. Oh, now we're actually showing some of the video, the actual video of this thing slipping. Whoa, slip and slide. Oh, wow. It's making quite a spraying snow and mud all over the place.
Well, that's normally what you get when you retire.
Well,
a nice spray over the airplane.
This may have been his retirement flight. We don't know.
No assistance required.
Are you able to taxi on your own power, or do you need any assistance?
Now able on our own power,
Ah,
okay,
this is nothing.
Continue via Echo Foxtrot.
Golly.
Left to Juliet, stands 207.
Okay.
He didn't even ask for a quick washdown, did he?
No. Yeah, kind of
You
nice
bet.
sturdy Airbus.
Yeah. You can go plowing in those.
A brownout landing for aircraft and crew. Yeah, no kidding. You really want to avoid the brownouts as much as possible. I'm sorry, you're breaking up again, Liz. Any other incidents like that? Well, Liz is asking. Well, let's see. Maybe if you'll add my, there we go. And here we go. This is in Irkutsk. Yeah, this is a turboprop twin engine taking off in.
That's why it sounds like an old bus.
Or train.
But I mean, a bit of a difference.
Get up on the step there, man.
This guy's actually on the runway.
Yeah. So.
Oh, good lord!
There's a lot of stuff on the runway.
I was gonna say it doesn't look like water. This isn't good.
Get noisy. And voila, you just got to be determined to get that thing in the air, and they do. Right at the very end.
Wow.
That's the way we do it.
Well, I don't see a lot of difference between those two, maneuvers, the takeoff and the landing. So why do they bother with runways in the first place?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I think the real win here for Avion Express, since this video is probably going to be passed around the internet for the next decade or two, the real win for them is that it's a completely unmarked white airplane.
Yes, it's a white tail.
There's no company logos anywhere.
I'm sure the airline was thinking, "Oh, thank goodness it was that one that doesn't have our, livery on it." It does. It really shows the mud nicely for sure. Yeah. Wow. That's just something else there. Now, I don't know. People will say, "Well, so what's the big deal here?" Well, most people, and when I say most, 99.9999% of us, if we had an excursion off of the runway like that, if we actually did get it back onto the runway, we probably would have stopped on the runway and said, probably would be prudent for us to just shut down and have somebody tow us to the apron and gate, and not, because we don't know what just happened there. Did we break something? Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I cannot believe the blasé way in which the captain said, "Oh no, we're fine. We'll carry on on our own power." No, to minimise any damage that has occurred to the engines, you really want to shut them down as soon as you can after an event like this, and get towed in at low speed while your engineers keep an eye on the undercarriage in case there's been some damage to that. Because in a lot of these cases, when you get an airliner leaving the paved surface, the gear will collapse. So the damage could have done, and that gear could have collapsed on the way in if it had been severely damaged. I mean, they actually crossed one of the taxiways that adjoins the runway halfway through their excursion, and normally when the concrete meets the grass, so he was on the grass, he went over the taxiway and off it again. Normally there's a big lip there, and that's usually enough to tear the gear off an aeroplane. He seems to have got away with it. I'm not quite sure how, but so I would have imagined he would have suffered a bit of damage, but how much and what, I don't know. He can't see his own main wheels, so how does he know he's not got them hanging off? I really am shocked.
Yeah. Airplane landing gear is designed to react gigantic loads, right? But it's designed to react all of those loads directly up into the airframe. And it's designed to react a little bit of loads from side to side for crosswind landings and stuff. But like Nick said, even just going from dirt to asphalt, if there's not a lip, there's going to be a big side load just from the change in surface and friction and everything. So I agree. I mean, if they didn't break anything, it seems like it'd be kind of stunning.
Yeah, indeed.
iHaul Boxes says the Ural Airbus in that field was also fine. Yeah.
Well, so we gather.
I
wouldn't trust any reports coming
quotes, right? It never flew again.
No.
Yeah. What's the definition of fine? All right. Let's go down under. From the Aviation Herald, Qantas Boeing 737-800, registration Victor Hotel Victor Zulu Whiskey, Flight 146 from Auckland, New Zealand to Sydney, with 100 passengers and 7 crew, was on final approach to Sydney's runway 16 left. This is a final report, by the way. I think we talked about this when it happened, or right after it happened, but they have the final report now. A Qantas 737-800 registration Victor Hotel Victor Zulu Mike, performing flight 540 from Sydney to Brisbane, with 52 passengers and 6 crew, were instructed to line up and wait immediately after a private jet landed on runway 16 left. The private jet took 23 seconds longer to vacate the runway than the controller anticipated. Zulu Mike was cleared for takeoff when Zulu Whiskey was 2.4 nautical miles before the runway threshold. Wow, that's close. However, their engine acceleration and stabilization took 4 seconds longer than normal. When the crew of Zulu Mike pressed their toga button, Zulu Whiskey was 1.7 nautical miles from the runway threshold, and tower intended to instruct Zulu Whiskey to go around. However, the tower supervisor instructed the controller involuntarily to wait. The instruction to go around was therefore transmitted 12 seconds after the controller had decided to issue the instruction. In the meantime, the captain of Zulu Whiskey had already assessed that they would likely need to go around and instructed the first officer pilot flying to mentally prepare for a go-around. That's sharp. That's good stuff. The crew acknowledged the go-around instruction, initiated the go-around at about 450 feet above ground level and about 1.1 nautical miles before the runway threshold. The controller, although being aware of turn instructions not to be issued below an MSA of 2,100 feet, min-safe altitude, instructed the crew to turn left onto heading 125 degrees as per the published missed approach procedure. The crew understood this turn instruction as an amended missed approach instruction. Due to workload, did not immediately read the instruction back, thus kept runway heading. The separation between the two aircraft thus reduced to about 330 feet vertical and 0.8 nautical miles horizontal before Zulu Whiskey began their turn left, and the aircraft settled on diverging trajectories. Contributing factors here in the final report: the go-around instruction issued by the aerodrome controller was delayed by about 12 seconds due to the inadvertent interjection by the tower shift manager. The instruction issued to the arriving 737 flight crew by the aerodrome controller subsequent to the go-around was interpreted by the flight crew as an instruction to cancel the published missed approach procedure and continue on the runway track before turning at 2,100 feet. Consequently, the 737 flight crew did not turn left at 600 feet as required by the procedure. So anyway, they go into a little bit more detail about breaking down all the various contributing factors. I don't know about you guys, but obviously the guy that's on final, Zulu Whiskey, I believe, could see that this is possibly not going to work out. He even told the first officer, hey, be prepared for a go-around. Does it have the weather conditions listed here anywhere? I don't see anything, so I'm assuming this was probably visual conditions. And I know that there's another flight that was just cleared for takeoff on the same runway that I'm about to land on. I don't know, again, this is Monday morning quarterbacking, but if the controller tells me to turn left to a heading, I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, my first inclination is going to be to get on a divergent path because the guy taking off initially is going to be going right ahead of me and climbing right up into me if I continue the runway track and the runway heading. So I hear that from I may even start turning before the tower controller tells me to turn because I want to get some offset off that. I don't want that guy to climb into me. So, I mean, am I wrong about that? I mean,
no, that was going to be the big question I was going to ask Jeff. So I don't understand the justification for delaying that turn. All the controller did was say, turn left heading 210. And they somehow interpreted that as a turn at 2,100 feet. And I'm going, why? If particularly in this situation where a conflict is occurring, and the controller gives you a turn. I don't understand why they didn't do it as soon as they were able. I can understand they're not acknowledging it because you're busy, but they obviously heard it because they've just said so. So why not turn? It just completely confused me.
And if this were a 1-6 right, and so you may not know what's happening over on 1-6 left, and so you don't want to turn left into somebody or whatever, but they're on 1-6 left. So as far as I know, there aren't any big mountains or anything else. We're looking at the
no, it's all pretty
satellite
flat
view
around
here.
there.
Yeah, it's pretty flat in that area. They're near the Sydney Harbor, and it looks to me like there's nothing they're going to hit. So go ahead and start diverging, so you don't hit, so that airplane doesn't climb right up into you. Anyway, that's just me, I guess. Well, not just me. It's me and Captain Nick, and probably Nick Camacho too. What do you think, Camacho? Would that
just
be your
put you on the
inclination as
spot.
well? Now, this is an audio podcast, so you can't just shake your head.
Nod my head. Yeah, sorry, I was trying
Yes,
to
you need to say something. Play along with us, Nick. All right, there we go. I hear him laughing. Anything else to say about this?
Yeah, there was obviously some confusion in the tower, which is why the go-around was delivered late.
Yeah.
Between the tower shift manager, who apparently doesn't have the authority to tell the controllers what to say. So I'm going, well, you do what you just ignore him then.
Right.
If someone says, wait, well, I suppose there would be a case of, has he seen something I haven't?
Right.
So
that's what I would
I'm going to give it a couple of seconds, check everything. But then, no, this situation is all the time getting worse as these two aircraft converge. I need to initiate my instructions. And, of course, that delay was important. The aircraft got closer than they needed to.
Did they say in the report, I don't recall reading it, why the supervisor said wait?
No, it says the TSM, tower shift manager later stated that they did not intend to verbalize anything, and they meant for the ADCE to issue the go-around instruction. This verbal slip likely occurred at a time of high workload as the TSM attempted to assimilate the information associated with the traffic scenario. That seems weird.
So maybe he was on the phone with his wife and there's no wait.
It could be. And I also understand the flight crew thinking this heading is not part of my normal go-around procedure. So I'm no longer following the procedure. I'm now receiving air traffic instructions.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting that to continue. So I quite understand that the flight crew went, we're now away from the standard missed approach procedure. We're doing what the controller has asked us to. But it still leads to the point, why did they think they were going to wait to 2,100 feet? Was there a note on the plate said, don't do any turns below 2,100? I don't know. They haven't made that clear.
I think that, it could have been a Grant in a balloon over there on that.
Well, it wouldn't have surprised me.
East side of the runway.
Yeah.
Perhaps, I don't know. The way in my head, I'm thinking that I think the actual missed approach procedure said to start the turn at 600 feet above ground
Correct.
level.
Yeah, that's what I understood as well.
I don't know why where did this 2100 MSL thing come from? That's a good question.
The instruction issued.
Oh, is that what he said to him?
Well, I don't know. That's what the bullet point says. The instruction issued to the arriving 737 flight crew by the aerodrome controller subsequent to the go-around was interpreted by the flight crew as an instruction to cancel the published missed approach and continue on the runway track before turning at 2,100 feet. But it doesn't. Do they say what his exact verbiage was in here?
No.
No, that's an area also of confusion. I don't understand how that misinterpretation occurred. It's beyond me. Yes, a trip to Sydney, that would be very nice, and then we can chat to the controllers themselves.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, what did you say, Liz? Oh, more loss of separation.
Can I just clarify here, right at the beginning, or in one of the earlier paragraphs, it says the controller, although being aware of turn instructions not to be issued below MSA of 2100 instructed the crew to turn left onto a heading of 125. So he apparently had a restriction on issuing turn instructions below 2100. Doesn't say why. Was it noise abatement? I don't know. But the standard go around, the published go around, allowed the aircraft to turn at 600 feet. So I'm a wee bit confused.
Yes, this is all very confusing.
Yeah.
So the crew probably never heard, well, don't turn until 2,100 feet, or did they?
Well, no, the controller just said that he knew that was a limitation on him.
Yeah.
He couldn't issue a turn below 2,100. So, yeah.
But if he said turn left, heading 125 per the published mist, then that is the 600-foot turn, right?
Yep, it is.
Oh, yes, interesting.
I don't know. And then I still go by what I said at the beginning. If it's visual conditions and I see an airplane, my company airplane taking off in front of me, I'm not going to wait around for somebody to give me a divergent heading. I'm going to do it on my own, just to keep from, metal hitting metal.
Right.
Indeed.
And then I can talk to somebody after the fact, like, okay, I'm sorry I broke one of your procedures, but I didn't want to hit that airplane.
Exactly. And as the captain of the aircraft, that's one of your responsibilities, let alone a right. You're supposed to make sure you make good decisions like that.
Absolutely. And it's so easy for us to say that now that we're both retired airline pilots.
I'm going to make that every show now. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, and that was the final report, so likely we're never going to hear anything more about that. We'll continue on with another Aviation Herald article, preliminary report on a Turkish Airlines Airbus A321-200 performing a flight from Stuttgart to Istanbul. They were departing Stuttgart's runway 7. A Sun Express Boeing 737-800 was flying from Antalya. I don't know why I have so much trouble with that. Turkey to Stuttgart. Was on final approach to Stuttgart's runway 7 and went around. Okay. So we have another situation just kind of similar to the last one. Germany's BFU reported the occurrence was rated a serious incident due to the loss of separation in flight. Man, we're seeing more and more of these, aren't we?
Yep.
According to ADS-B data, the landing aircraft was about 4.4 nautical miles before the runway threshold when the departing aircraft lined up for departure. Subsequently, the landing aircraft touched down and went around with the departing aircraft still on the runway, with the horizontal distance between the aircraft being about 0.9 nautical miles, so under less than a mile separation, which would be 6,000 feet on the runway. The separation during climb out was 300 feet vertical and about 0.8 nautical miles horizontal when the landing aircraft turned left onto a diverging trajectory. On February 1st, 2024, the BFU reported in their preliminary report the sequence of events were, okay, we talked about the A321 Stuttgart to Istanbul was on taxiway Kilo, contacted the tower controller, reported holding point runway 7, the Boeing 737 coming in. Let's see, reported tower, good evening, established ILS 07. Tower controller requested the A321 flight crew to line up and wait on runway 7 after a landing A319. The tower controller instructed the 737 crew reduce speed 170 knots or less. This was confirmed. Okay, so he's trying to get some extra space here. The tower controller established radio contact with an Embraer business jet coming from the general aviation terminal, taxiing on the taxiway hotel towards the runway. The Embraer flight crew answered, "Yeah, hello tower, approaching hotel, ready for departure." The controller answered, "Roger, call you shortly." 4 seconds later, the Embraer flight crew reported holding short, hotel, and I guess it was obscured. As the A319 touched down on the runway, the controller said, "Via hotel, line up runway 07." This was confirmed. I think it was, again, the call sign was obscured on the radio transmission. The controller told the A321 flight crew, "You're number 2 for departure. There is an intersection departure ahead." Oh, he's trying to do the double launch. The flight crew confirmed the instruction, and the A321 standing at the Category 1 holding point began to move. Next, the Embraer crossed the Cat 1 holding point on taxiway hotel and entered runway 7. The controller contacted the flight crew of the 737, now about 6.5 miles out, reduced to final approach speed. At the time, the airplane had a speed of 171 knots indicated, and the flight crew answered, "Reducing final approach speed." Within about 37 seconds, speed decreased to about 150. The controller told the rolling A319, the one that just landed, "Expedite vacating via Delta." The flight crew answered, "Vacate via Delta." The controller requested the flight crew to change to Stuttgart ground. Next, the flight crew confirmed the instruction. The controller told the Embraer flight crew, the one that was doing the intersection takeoff, "Out of hotel, no delay, please. Wind 060 degrees, 2 knots, runway 07, clear for takeoff." At that time, the Embraer was on taxiway hotel, short of the intersection with the runway. The flight crew answered, "Clear for takeoff immediately, runway 07. At that time, the previously landed A319 crossed the Cat 1 holding point at taxiway Delta. The approaching 737 was about 5 nautical miles away from the runway threshold at a speed of 151. The controller contacted the A321 flight crew with the words, "Be ready as soon as I call you," and that was confirmed. The Embraer was aligned with the runway, began takeoff run, lifted off about 28 seconds later. The controller told the A321 flight crew, "After departure, stop climb, altitude 4,000 feet, and stay on my frequency. Wind 010 degrees, 1 knot, runway 07, clear for takeoff," and this was confirmed. Okay, so just to kind of give us an idea of what's happening here, the 737 is coming in. They're kind of on short final or shortish final. The 319 is cleared out of the way on the runway, the landing 319. The Embraer has been cleared for takeoff and I think is airborne at this point, and the 321 has just been given takeoff instructions, told to limit their climb to 4,000 and to stay on the tower frequency. Did I get that right, I think?
Yep, all going good.
Okay, the Embraer flew over the end of runway 7. On the radar display, the controller saw that the 321 had begun the takeoff run and informed the flight crew of the 737, which was about 1.9 nautical miles away from the threshold. Departure is rolling. Wind check 090 degrees, 1 knot. And the controller told the Boeing 737 flight crew, "Wind 100 degrees, 1 knot, runway 07, go around, please, left turn." As the airplane was about 0.63 nautical miles away from the threshold of runway 7 in descent at 200 feet in relation to the threshold. In the following approximately 17 seconds, vertical speed changed from 768 feet per minute descent to 384 feet per minute climb. Within 14 seconds, altitude decreased to 18 feet above the threshold, and the Boeing 737 overflew the threshold of runway 7 at this altitude. At the same time, the A321 was 1,600 meters from the other threshold. No, from that threshold, down the runway, I guess, 0.8 nautical miles down the runway, abreast of the intersection with taxiway Echo. The A321 had a speed of about 160 knots. 2 seconds later, it lifted off. Okay, wow, it took a while for that 321, didn't it? The controller instructed the 737 crew, "Turn left heading 350, Airbus 321 departing." From that point on, the altitude of the Boeing 737 began to increase. The controller said again, "Left turn now, please, heading 350. The crew confirmed the left-hand turn to a heading of 350, and then the controller added, "Turn left now." I guess for some reason they're hesitating their turn, even though they probably should know that there's an Airbus 321 taking off in front of them, climbing straight up. let's see, the Boeing began the left turn away from the departure track. So the heading of the two aircraft diverged. At that time, the lateral distance was 0.92 nautical miles, so just under a mile. The controller instructed the A321 flight crew to continue the climb to 5,000 feet to change to the radio frequency of Langen radar. Okay. So it sounds like, what do they call this in the air traffic control world? A squeeze play?
Yep.
Almost like a double squeeze play.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty tricky there. And I don't know, somebody must have taken longer than the controller thought they would. I'm guessing it's the A321 crew, perhaps. I don't know. It's hard to say because he gave the takeoff clearance to the Embraer when he wasn't even on the runway yet. He said, cleared for takeoff immediately, trying to get that guy out ahead of that 321. And the 321 took longer. The 737, I guess, approached the runway a lot faster than the controller thought he would. And then everything went to hell in a handbasket. And then we had to start issuing go-around instructions and vectors, etc. So, discuss.
Yeah, all happened very finely timed. In fact, I think if the guy had been able to delay his go-around instructions by 3 seconds, the Airbus would have been airborne, and then he could have let the 737 land, because it's quite common to be on the approach with an aircraft rolling in front of you, and you're just waiting for him to get airborne, and then you'll get your landing clearance. And it used to happen at Heathrow all the time, and I've had landing clearances as late as 30 feet. You're right in the middle of the flare, and you get your landing clearance. Knowing that at any time you can fly a bulk landing, you could put your wheels down and go again. But that's how fine they used to run it. So it's not unusual to have this kind of tight sequencing. It's just a shame that the controller couldn't wait for the 321 to get airborne before he gave his go-around instructions. Now, perhaps he's limited by his regulations. I don't know exactly what they might be at this airport or with a German controller, but that is the shame, because 3 seconds is not a big thing, but it's all that was needed to turn this into a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Jeff, that the airplane didn't turn right when they directed him to turn, but I think if I'm doing the math right, the guy told him to turn right around the time the airplane was at 18 feet over the threshold.
Yeah.
So it seems pretty sporty to make it turn.
Yeah, that transition
20 to
that
30 feet off the ground. Yeah.
Phase again and start accelerating and everything. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of dangerous. Good point, Nick, that you don't want to start your turn when you're just hovering above the runway at a probably reduced power setting and everything else. You want to make sure you have the energy to make a nice, safe turn. That's for sure. And it could be that the controller was just like, biting his nails, wondering if this is going to work out, and just trying to encourage him to start the turn as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I've noticed a mindset in my years of flying that it's the standard procedure for us anyway, was to wait until you're 400 feet above the ground before you started any turns. I think maybe sometimes that gets set in our brains that you cannot, no matter what, ever turn the airplane before 400 feet above the ground. Well, if there's another airplane ahead of you climbing up in front of you, this might be a time to maybe break that, rule that you have in your brain that says don't, wait till 400 feet before a turn. I don't know. It could be a part of it. Okay. Ray says, Jeff, did we have this kind of deal before the new runway, north runway was made at Atlanta? Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that this kind of thing happened. I don't remember much about those. In fact, when I started flying in Atlanta, are you talking about the new north runway? So I guess maybe initially they only had one runway on the north complex.
Jeff's
Is that
so
what you're
old
saying,
he's going to
Ryan?
admit
Yeah.
to going through multiple phases of the Atlanta airport. Right
Yeah.
now.
When I started, though, believe it or not, there were four, two parallels on the north complex and two on the south. And then at some point later on, they built the fifth runway on the south side.
Which is weird because when I started flying at Heathrow, there were 3 runways, and when I finished, there were only 2.
Oh, they took runways away from you.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, man.
Yes, indeed. I'm just going to say here, I was a bit surprised about the 737's go around because he got go around instruction at 200 feet. And he got down to 18 feet before he started climbing away.
Oh.
And I'm going, we would, if I did that in the simulator, I would probably have to refly that because that amount of height loss, it would have been considered unacceptable because you're supposed to respond very promptly and arrest your descent and get the aircraft climbing safely away because, you wouldn't expect to touch the runway from a go round from minimums, which is what 200 feet generally is. But he got within 18 feet, which is very close to touching the ground during that.
Wow. How does that happen? And are you not looking out your window and seeing why you're being told to go around? You see the 321 rolling down the runway?
Yeah. So I reckon that 737 could have been several hundred feet higher, a couple of hundred feet higher, in the go around, and the confliction might not have been as serious as it was.
Oh, Aisle Boxes says if you're in Air France or not.
No, well, that's fair enough. Yes. Okay. Well, Frappler derriere. Yes.
I think
We're going to come on to
about
that later.
Yeah, we are. Okay. Well, again, that's only, I think, the preliminary report. So we're going to hear more about this as time goes on. And let's drop down to F just in case you need to leave us, Camacho.
Yeah, I'll do this one and then bail
Okay. This from, a couple of different sources. The one from Fox29.com it's a local media outlet, and they're kind of focused on this accident and the school board president, Sam Ganau. And it's all kind of from that reference. And of course, we're an aviation podcast. We want to talk more about the details of the crash and the aviation aspect of this. So what I'm going to do is proceed down to the aerosafety.net, aviationsafety.net article, and just basically cover the basics. This accident occurred on the 1st of February. It was a Grumman GA7 Cougar, a twin-engine Grumman. Let's see, the Grumman GA7 Cougar, November 887 Charlie, impacted terrain shortly after takeoff from runway 29 at Coatesville, Chester County Airport, PA. The pilot was killed. ADS-B data show that the airplane was making a descending right-hand turn shortly after takeoff from runway 29, and Liz is showing a picture of the gentleman that was at the controls of the aircraft and passed away. Well-regarded member of the community there, and school board president, and a lot more. Apparently, very, very experienced pilot as well. But this was a new airplane for him. The aircraft had been hangared at Marshall Brooks Field Airport, Michigan, following a prop strike incident, and was put up for sale. After purchase, the rebuilding work was documented on the YouTube channel Rebuild Rescue. ADS-B data show that it was first test flown after repairs on December 15th, 2023. It was subsequently ferried to Coatesville, Coatesville, Chester County Airport, CTH, after, or that same day. The accident was the first flight out of CTH after arrival. Okay. The the YouTube channel. I'll just play just a little clip at the beginning. It's not super pertinent to.
That is so cool.
What do you think, Brian?
I want it.
All right, so it's day 6 of rescuing the cougar. The guys are already down at the hangar, and I got to get down there. We got avionics to do, we got the whole annual to do, and so much more. And we got to get this thing rescued. We got to fly it out of here and get it back to the rescue hangar.
Okay, so that is. Sorry, we can take that down from the stage. Let me do. Oh, sorry. we're opposing each other on our little maneuvers behind.
You're
the scenes.
making me feel a bit sick.
Sorry about that. So again, that's this channel. And so Nick, I think both of us are as familiar with this as the other. I'd never heard of this YouTube channel, but apparently this guy got to YouTubedom fame by doing something similar, but not with airplanes, but with cars and stuff like that. And I think he kind of was a big YouTube hit star influencer or whatever. And then he started, I guess he did some kind of a project on a Cessna 401, or is in the midst of a Cessna 401 project that he purchased, and he's constantly kind of pausing that to do other projects because he needs the money to fund this Cessna 401 rebuild that he's doing. But anyway, this rebuild, what is it called? Rebuild Rescue. So the deal was, we're going to buy this thing, this thing that had the dual prop strike. I guess they somehow got off a taxiway or something like that, and both props hit hard ground or hard whatever. And I know you're going to tell us why that's a big deal, but this channel bought the thing for like $30,000. This is a twin engine airplane. What was it? 78, something like that. Not super old, but
yeah.
Anyway, and the deal was that they covered this on their channel, kind of doing whatever they need to do to get the airplane back into certified flying condition, airworthiness. And then hopefully they can sell it at a profit. And it turns out in this case, they managed to do that. They replaced most of the avionics. They replaced the propellers, obviously. Not sure exactly what they did with the engines, but I'm sure that they had to do some stuff with the engines because Nick Camacho is going to tell us how important that is, I'm sure. And they ended up selling it to Sam, I guess, the guy that died in it, for like a $20,000 profit-ish, somewhere around that. So that's the setup for what this whole rebuild rescue channel does. And so now my question to you, Nick Camacho, is, so that's a big deal, right? Hitting the props, you'd think, well, I just dented the prop or whatever, but that's a pretty big shock to the engines, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the FAA has a definition of they call it prop strike or sudden stoppage. And there's so it's not just that the propeller hits something, but if the engine is in operation and the propeller hits something significant enough to slow it down. I can't remember off the top of my head, I can't remember what the threshold is, but the FAA says even if it doesn't stop spinning, but there's a notable decrease in engine speed to whatever, then you have to comply with either an AD or a service bulletin from Lycoming or Continental that is essentially a engine teardown. So they call it a prop strike inspection, but because you cannot adequately inspect all the components that could be affected by a prop strike, you got to remember the propellers are spinning, they're being driven by the engines. It's this massive metal with crankshafts and connecting rods going out to pistons and little explosions happening in cylinders. And so when the propeller hits something hard, basically what you're doing is you're sending a shock through that entire drivetrain. And without opening it up, you can't tell if you did any damage to the crankshaft internal to the engine, any connecting rods, pistons, piston pins. There's a lot of internal components that are subjected to, shock, to forces associated with the propeller strike. So the FAA requires you to do this propeller strike, prop strike inspection, which is basically a tear down of the engine. You open the engine all the way up and inspect everything. It's oftentimes it's covered by insurance, which can be a good or a bad thing, right? It'll affect your future with an insurance company, but it's covered by insurance, but it's not an insignificant expense, right? We've talked about, in the past year, we've talked a lot about engine expenses and stuff with what I'm going through with my airplane, but to take these engines out, basically to do a prop strike inspection only without doing an overhaul or anything like that, you're adding no additional value to the airplane, but it's still a significant expense because you have to open the engine all the way up. You have to send some of the parts out for inspection if you can't inspect them locally. And the amount of labor is significant. I'm trying to come up with the best. Off the top of my head, I knew a guy that had a prop strike. This is probably 10 years ago, and he had a shop do all the work. So if you're not working on your own airplane, you have a shop do all the work, and this was 10 years ago, so it's probably 50% higher than this, if not doubled. But it cost about $49,000 between the engine work, replacing the propeller, and everything that's associated with it. Yikes. So that's what they were going through with this airplane. The Grumman Cougar is it's not really a very common general aviation airplane. It's if people are familiar, it's in the same class as like a Piper Apache or a Beach Duchess is what I'm familiar with. When I was a kid, I flew in a Duchess with my dad, but it's basically a 4-seat twin engine airplane with 2 4-cylinder engines. So really its primary role, I suspect, throughout the course of its life has been as a twin engine trainer. I mean, it has some value as a traveling airplane, but with the smaller 4-cylinder engines, it just didn't have a ton of performance like you'd see in traveling twins like a Baron or a Seneca or something like that. But from what I've read, it makes a good trainer. It is twin engine, so it has that redundancy of having 2 engines, but it is a airplane that's probably 3,600 or 3,800 pound gross, I would guess. And so if you lose an engine, you're flying a mid 3,000 pound airplane on 160 or 180 horsepower. So it is something you have to be proficient in and stay ahead of, and
because those engines aren't super powerful engines, right? They're not really putting out that much.
Right. They're naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. I believe it had, I don't know if it said in here, I believe they have 320s, which is the smaller Lycoming 4-cylinder. I could have done more research, I guess, but
Blocalirio covered this in quite a bit of detail and talking about how the stall speed and the minimum control speed, VMCA,
yes,
depending on certain conditions, are like really super close. And it's kind of one of those situations where on an airplane like this, you lose an engine, your performance has gone to almost nothing. Would that be a safe way to express it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And that's another thing to keep in mind, right? Is like if you have a single engine airplane, you have an engine failure, the key to your survivability is keeping the airplane from stalling, like getting the airplane down to the ground without stalling it, and then finding a place long enough to decelerate the airplane without hurting yourself, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. You can't, even if you find even if you get the airplane to the ground, but you immediately run into a wall, it's no good for you. The thing about twins, especially light twins, is that there's this, everybody thinks they're great. They've got an added engine. But the thing that gets a lot of people is, in addition to maintaining control of the airplane to the ground. When you lose an engine, it actually becomes harder to control the airplane than if you have an engine out completely. So there's a lot of people say that the only thing more dangerous than piston singles is a piston twin, which is kind of a loaded comment. But if you are not very proficient at engine out procedures and controlling the airplane, it is definitely a scenario where the redundancy of two engines on your airplane can very quickly put you in a bad situation if you start flying it below VMCA or get the airplane in a scenario where it won't continue flying straight.
And it's absolutely critical, right, to get the thing feathered as soon as you lose. And is that something that normally happens automatically, or is it something that you have to actually physically move a lever to feather the engine?
Nope, you have to physically move a lever. So in small GA airplanes, it's physically managed with the propeller control knob, I should say.
So Nick Anderson, Captain Nick, and I retired. This kind of situation, I don't have any experience at all flying a light twin. I have very little experience flying any GA, but it kind of blows me. I guess I have this mindset. I've been flying military airplanes and commercial airliners. I'm trying to think of the transportation class, equipment all of my life, and these things are certified to operate not super performance, but decent performance on if you lose an engine. And I guess in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, well, isn't that the way it is with all airplanes? But apparently not. I'm seeing this more and more when we cover GA accidents and twins and they lose an engine. I'm thinking, well, no big deal. Just put some rudder in on the good engine, and Bob's your uncle. You're on the ground, and everybody's safe and sound. But apparently, there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, and so I just pulled up real quick. This is a FAA. I don't know what this is. This is a brochure, I guess, or a document that the FAA puts out about flying twin engine airplanes, and they make the statement: climb performance depends on an excess of thrust or power over that required for level flight, which makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Loss of power on one engine represents a 50% loss of thrust, but it often results in an 80 to 90% loss of climb performance. So that's a pretty crazy thing to think about. So if you have an airplane that'll climb at 1,000 feet a minute or 1,200 feet a minute, which is common for a GA airplane, and you lose an engine, then you're talking like barely positive rate of climb. And that's if you manage the airplane correctly.
Yeah. IL Boxes is saying, don't most twin pistons have an aerodynamic turning moment? Now, is he talking about the danger of getting this thing too slow and then entering a spin? And is that what he's talking about? Aerodynamic turning moment?
I'm not 100% sure what he's talking about.
Or P factor or something like that, maybe?
Well, so there's a couple of things, right? Yeah. So when you lose an engine, I think this is what he's talking about. When you lose an engine, you now have asymmetric thrust, right? So the airplane's going to want to yaw as you're flying.
Yeah.
So to counteract that, you have to counteract the yaw. And now when you counteract the yaw, you're flying uncoordinated. So you have to roll the airplane to counteract the rudder input you put in to counteract the asymmetric thrust, if that makes any sense. They call it raising the deck, right? So
keep the airplane tracking straight, right?
Yeah. So let's say you're flying a twin engine airplane, you lose the left engine, the right engine's still running. The nose is going to want to kind of wander left, right? Because there's more thrust on that side of the airplane. Mm-hmm. So to counteract that, you're going to want to step on the right rudder, but now you're not flying coordinated. So then you pitch the airplane to counteract that. He just added something here. No, I'm talking about the blade angle due to loss of hydraulic pressure versus spring pressure at the time of engine failure. There is the way that propellers feather in general aviation airplanes. If you have a constant, and this is not always the case, I think aerobatic airplanes are opposite of this, but generally in general aviation airplanes, the way you manage the propeller is the propeller blades go into the dome, and there's a spring in the dome, and then there's a piston that spring pushes against, and on the backside of the piston you have oil pressure. So essentially, the propeller is spring-loaded to either high or low pitch, depending on your application, and then the oil pressure drives it the other direction. And they're opposite for single-engine and multi-engine airplanes. The reason that is the case is because if you lose pressure in a single-engine airplane, or if you're starting to lose oil pressure in a single-engine airplane, because it is the only source of power you have, you want it to be making the most power possible as long as possible. So the fail-safe in that mode is spring-loaded to the flat position, which gives you the highest RPM, which gives you the most power. So the propeller blades are spring-loaded to the flat position, and then oil pressure, as governed or as manipulated by the prop governor, moves the blades off of the flat pitch to manipulate propeller speed to wherever you want it. Twins work in the opposite manner, because if you start having an engine failure, if you start having loss of oil pressure, you can continue to fly because you still have another good engine over there. So the more critical, the thing that you want to have happen is you want the propeller blades to go to feather. So basically everything I just explained for the single engine flips, right? The spring pushes the blades to feather, oil pressure pushes them back out of feather. And so as you start losing an engine, basically what you're doing is you pull the propeller knob all the way back. So it has a propeller knob that manages
the pitch,
propeller speed. Yeah. So what you do is you're setting a speed, and then the governor sets the pitch, and there's a normal range for that. And in twin engine airplanes, you can pull it all the way back. So you have a high speed and a low speed stop. And in twin engine airplanes, you also have a feather position. So when you pull that knob all the way back, it allows the blade to go all the way flat, or all the way to feather. And when I say feather, I mean it's streamlined with the airflow. And that does two things. It not only does it produce the smallest frontal area to the airflow as the plane flies through the air, but it also stops the propeller from spinning, because as the propeller spins in windmills, that increases drag greatly.
Okay. So what is your opinion about these shows, like, Rescue, or whatever, Rebuild Rescue, there we go. Like basically documenting everything, well, not everything, documenting what they've edited. They're presenting a lot of stuff that they've done or haven't done on a publicly available channel. It seems to me like you're really hanging it out there, showing everybody. I mean, in fact, in this case, I've seen a couple of different sources say that the NTSB has already been looking at these published videos, and also likely footage that had been videotaped that were not included in the actual videos on YouTube publicly. But I don't. It seems to me like that would be a lot of liability.
I agree, and like that makes me nervous. I put very little stuff. I put very little stuff on the internet for a couple of reasons, and one is the liability aspect, like you talk about, right? The other reason is because I'm a sensitive person, and the internet's a terrible place, and so I'm always worried that even if I'm doing something right,
everybody watching the video
like,
on the internet and listening to us, our audio podcast. We're good. We're good stuff, but there's a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question? Is there a suggestion then? You described the meticulous checks that should have been done on the engines after prop strikes. Is there a suggestion that these weren't done on this aircraft, and they then sold it to this unfortunate, very nice gentleman who had an engine failure, possibly because of the lack of maintenance that was accomplished?
I don't think that that's the case. I'm not sure. I haven't gone back and watched all the videos. I know that a lot of the videos that they did on this airframe, on this N number, at least were still up a couple of days ago, which is a little surprising. But this initial report that Jeff read said that the rebuilding work was documented on the Rebuild Rescue YouTube channel. So I assume that the work was complete, and I feel like I read in one of the articles that I saw that they do work with an AMPIA. So
okay,
it would be hard for me to imagine an AMPIA, that would be willing to, well, not hard for me to imagine, but it'd be disappointing if there's a person that would cut corners or do things that he didn't feel was the right thing to do, either to be associated with these people because he liked these people or because he wanted to gain a little bit of exposure on YouTube or whatever. But going back to Jeff's comment, I think what makes me a little bit nervous about these shows is that let's face it, YouTube content or any sort of content is entertainment content, right? And for the majority of the population, it is like drama drives the entertainment level. And I was telling Jeff before, we chatted about this a little bit before, and they work in a slightly different mode and mindset than I do, right? I am, as can be clearly noted by my level of progress on my projects. I'm pretty slow. I consider myself fairly meticulous. And that doesn't mean I do it right and they do it wrong, but some of these shows, they either kind of like pride themselves or they kind of make it the focus of their content to either find the roughest or airplane that needs the most work and bring it back to life, or say, we're going to do this in a week. We've got all this work and we're going to do it in a week, or, they do things that add drama to their content, which is not something that I'm personally tremendously intrigued by, but I suspect that for every one person like me that, is heavily into aviation, aircraft maintenance and everything, for every one person that like me, that's like, that's not really my taste or whatever, there are 10 or 100 people that maybe aren't completely dialed into aviation maintenance, but they find this video and they're like, oh, this is intriguing. Yeah.
So what we're saying, they give themselves deadlines which they sometimes struggle to meet just to create good watching.
I think
drama.
So. Yeah. And these are all personal opinions, and this is not just this channel. I'm not familiar with this channel actually at all. But I've seen other channels, and there's a channel with a guy that's always finding old airplanes, and he always gets permission to has this will it start series or whatever, and he'll find derelict airplanes and talk to the owners and do his best to get the airplane running, which is interesting. But there's a lot of very mundane work that goes into aviation maintenance that I probably wouldn't even consider entertaining, even though I'm totally into it. Right. So, my only fear would be, as this genre continues or matures or whatever, that people, as they think they need more drama and try to inject drama, they can either kind of create that drama artificially, or they can just say, let's just go after it and make it as real as possible. So,
yeah. Well, we have a couple Camacho lovers here in our live audience. I haul for good reason, by the way. I haul boxes. I love this man's instant, technically clean and detailed explanations. Me too. And then Austin in our live audience, flight review complete. Nick C. You didn't even know you were getting a flight review. And then Eva, I agree with you, Nick. I started watching some of the videos or his videos early on in the 401 rebuild, but I found the attempt at dramatizing the process was grating. Yeah. Wow. Oh, and Main Man Micah, you need to remember that all these reality shows that are on air or on the internet are scripted. They're not really reality. Yeah, to a certain extent, that's true, I'm sure. Yeah, Nick, a very nice explanation and good analysis of these types of shows and that kind of thing. But I'm just thinking to myself, gosh, you're just exposing yourself to so much scrutiny when you do these kind of things, and maybe it's worth it. Maybe the risk is worth the reward for a lot of people, but for a lot of people like you and most of us, I think it's not worth the reward, the potential reward. I'm sorry, say again? Okay. Yeah. Okay. We have a picture of your airplane, your Debonair, with this is real drama, according to Liz, and looking good, man. Looks like you got the engine in place.
Yep, the engine's in. Everything on the engine is complete, with the exception of setting up the controls. So I still have to add the arms to the throttle body for the mixture and the throttle. And then I guess the arm's already on the propeller governor. So I've just got to connect those 3 cables. I'm waiting for a couple of parts for the firewall pass-through for the propeller cable. And then then we're getting really close. I've got a little work to do on the top cowling because of the new baffles that I need to complete, and then hooking up and setting up the fuel system.
What I would do is I'd take those things that are hanging out over there on the left side,
stick them back inside,
throw them back in there, and put some panels on it, throw a prop on it. Let's go. Start her up and let's fly.
Yep.
No, just kidding.
Getting close.
Not do that. Yeah. So I know that it takes time to do this, and you're very busy with work projects and family projects, and it's tough, isn't it? Trying to find the time to spend on this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wish I could get it done faster, but
or are you purposely stalling to
building
make
drama,
it more dramatic, and get more of a viral thing going on?
I don't think so.
No, we don't do viral here on the APG.
Yeah.
Well, what about the syndrome? That's a virus, isn't it?
What's that?
What about the syndrome? Yeah.
The APG syndrome, that's a virus.
Oh, yeah, that's a virus. Well, I don't know. Is it a virus?
Is it a virus or is it
I don't
could
know
be. Could be viral.
It's an anomaly.
It's a fungus.
It's a fungus. Yeah,
could be a
that's more
fungus. Could be viral. Yeah.
The kind of fungus you just can't get rid of.
Yeah. It's
We're trying,
persistent. We know that.
Yeah. Scientists and medical people are continuing to do research on how to get rid of it. But, anyway, so thanks, Nick. I'm glad that we were able to cover this while you were with us, and it will be interesting to see, what they come up with here on this investigation. Just sad though, the guy, man, he got a great deal. I think he purchased this thing for, I don't know, a little over about 110. It doesn't tell us exactly how much he paid for it, but a light twin engine airplane for less than you can buy a really, really nice car.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you need to leave yet?
Yeah, I think that'll be it for me.
Anything else to update us with as far as getting to know Nick Camacho before you leave?
I don't think so. I've talked about a couple of work trips that have been in flux, and they're still in flux, and they might be happening in the next couple of weeks.
Where is this place, Flux?
It's
man. As soon as you figure it out, let me know.
Okay.
Maybe I'll start making a little more progress.
So are you, is there anything coming up in the next couple of days or so, some kind of an event that you want to express anything about?
The Super Bowl?
Like
Yeah.
a sporting event? Yeah.
The Super Bowl is on Sunday.
Yeah.
The Chiefs.
Your team, right?
Yep. The team that I root for is playing the 49ers, which is a Bay Area team. So hopefully the Chiefs do well there. I don't know if I mentioned it last time I was on. I can't remember. Had they made it? I think they had made it to the Super Bowl last time I was on. But yeah, I saw somebody posted a deal that said because the Chiefs' hate is building immensely. There's a kind of a combination. It's kind of a combination of the Chiefs' recent success. They've been very successful the last 5 years. Tim Van Ram is quickly becoming my mortal enemy because we meet them
He said,
in the Super Bowl.
I wish you and the Chiefs good luck in the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't mean it.
But yeah, so that their success combined with one of their players is dating Taylor Swift, who some of you may have heard of. She's apparently a person of interest in popular culture. And so there's lots of, it's very popular to hate the Chiefs. And somebody posted something that said, you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. And I thought that was pretty funny, referring to the Chiefs and
good
as
point.
an entity.
Well, it's going to be a good game, hopefully.
Yep.
I look forward to watching it myself. I don't really have any skin in the game or anything else, but
I can't wait to see the adverts they put on halfway through.
So do you stay up to watch the ads, or do you just catch them on YouTube the next day, Nick?
I catch them on YouTube the next day.
Okay, fair enough.
And then only the good ones.
only $7 million per 30 seconds ad.
I remember when it
cheap,
crossed
actually.
over $1 million for a 30-second ad when I was a
everybody
kid.
was just blown
and that
away.
was
Yeah. That's
hard
about
to
the same. That's why we don't have ads on our podcast. The cost is just too great, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah.
The amount we charge, they can't afford.
Yeah,
they
couldn't
can't. No one
afford
can
this.
afford it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll see
Thanks a
you
lot,
next time.
Cheers, Nick.
Take care.
All the best.
At what time point are we right now? Oh, okay. I think that's probably anything in the news that you were thinking that we.
I just wanted to cover 1G. It won't be long. I didn't want to do it personally. I think we should cover 1G because
What
I
did you
just
say about
love this
plugging
story.
in, Les? Oh, okay. I'm wondering if it's that is her video also you said affected? Because I was thinking I'm wondering if it has something to do with the setting in Unity, like it's almost like a gate that you're not. It's like a gate that's too close to set a little bit off. I think in your Unity setting, you didn't mess with any of those things in there, did you? Okay, if you go to the settings menu of Unity, are you okay? Look at your auto ducking options. Are those all slid to the right? Okay. How about down the one that's called the microphone gate level? What is that set at? No, I don't. I'm not sure you want to go. Let's see. Why don't you turn the microphone gate level off? So all the way to the left. Okay. Ooh, that may have done the trick. Continue to talk. Yeah, no, that didn't fix it. Okay. Okay, it's just going to be an interesting audio podcast. If I try to get some of your commentary in there, it might not be. I can tell you the first about an hour of the show, we will not hear anything from you, Liz, because I looked down and I noticed that I forgot to hit record on my. Oh, good thing we have the backup recordings going. Okay. Well, let's move on to this next and probably last item that we're going to cover in our news segment today. Item G, paddle your own canoe. Let's see. A British Airways captain accidentally deployed an emergency evacuation slide on an Airbus A320. Wait, does that make you happy, Nick? An Airbus A320 at Heathrow.
No, of course not.
On Saturday, try to contain yourself. On Saturday, after a baggage issue meant that the cabin door had to be reopened after the slide was already armed. This is the 5th time in little more than a year that an emergency slide has been accidentally deployed on a British Airways plane in bizarre circumstances. In this case, the 22-year-old aircraft had arrived at Heathrow. Again, I'm not sure why that's important. The age of the aircraft.
Well, those doors get a bit wobbly, I guess.
Oh, okay. On Saturday morning from Prague and was preparing for its next flight. Wait a minute, the airplane was preparing for its next flight, or the airplane was being prepared for its next flight by humans?
Good question.
With lots of passengers trying to squeeze as much hand luggage as possible into the overhead lockers. It would appear that the space in the overhead lockers ran out, and the cabin crew were forced to offload some baggage, causing the potential for delay. Once the cabin door was closed, the slides were immediately armed in order to make up some time, but then the ground staff unexpectedly knocked at the door. At this point, the captain opened the door to find out what was happening, and in doing so, accidentally deployed the slide into the side of the air bridge. The accident prompted a full-scale response from emergency services at Heathrow, with passengers evacuated from the plane via a set of stairs positioned at the back of the aircraft. Thankfully, no one was injured, but unsurprisingly, the aircraft had to be taken out of service so that the slide could be replaced. Known as inadvertent slide deployments in the aviation industry, these kind of accidents aren't unheard of, but the vast majority are the result of cabin crew failing to properly disarm the slide mechanism and then opening the door for normal arrival formalities. So, and it goes on to talk about some of these other incidents involving inadvertent slide deployments. But it seems to me that I don't recall at my airline that the flight attendants would arm the exits, the doors, until it was clear that everything was all taken care of and the airplane was about to release brakes and start the pushback procedure. It seems to me, I don't know, Nick, give me your opinion here, but it seems to me like it even mentioned it here in this article that in an effort to try to streamline the process and get out of there really quickly, they decided to go ahead and arm the doors. And then, of course, the captain didn't know that they had armed the doors. Of course, the captain probably should have looked to see if the door
yeah.
was
Because
armed.
I was just going to say that, because it's irrelevant, really, whether the cabin crew decide to arm the doors early. You should check that the door is disarmed before you try and open it. In fact, the standard procedure, I don't know about this particular airline, perhaps they have different procedures, but the standard procedure on my outfit was that if there was someone outside the door, they always open the door from the outside. And why do they do that? Because if you open the door from the outside and you've left it armed, that procedure, the outside door handle will automatically disarm the door and as they open it and prevent this from happening. Because, of course, opening the door from the outside, if the slide deploys, it can be very dangerous, because that is a very large piece of inflatable equipment that's coming out at many thousand PSI as it starts to expand. And, of course, it can crush people, knock people off their feet, etc.
Yeah, it can be very dangerous.
Yeah, it could. So that's why we always make sure the person on the outside open the door. That guaranteed. And apart from that, before you give them the thumbs up through the window to indicate that it's okay to open the door, you do the checks on the door to make sure you've got it disarmed and the pin is back in position, locking the disarm lever in the disarm position. So, and the other thing is the flight deck, we get trained in using the doors annually, and that might be the only time we ever have a go at opening, closing the doors, is during our annual safety and equipment procedures. we had about 3 days worth of this kind of stuff, because the flight deck don't usually get involved in it. So if someone's going to do the door, then let one of the experienced cabin crew members do it before the flight deck get involved.
Yeah.
Because they do it all day, every day, and they're the ones unlikely to make a mistake.
I don't know about you, but I didn't fly a fancy pants airplane like yours, where if you open the door from the outside, the slide's not going to deploy. The airplanes that I've been flying for most of my career were the kinds that had the girt bar, where you actually physically have to lift up the bar and put them in the little, holders. And so, I mean, every time, and I tried to avoid ever opening the door, especially from the inside. But there were times when you had to, because you're ferrying the airplane and there's nobody, there aren't any flight attendants to arm or disarm the doors. And it was a requirement that we had to arm a couple of them for emergency egress.
Same for us.
So every time I did that, and we had to be careful on my airplane, Nick, because if we pulled in and we forgot that we had the door armed and it was the main, the L1 door, and somebody pulled up the jetway, and they're just so used to opening up that door on their own. If you didn't have that thing disarmed, that could be a big problem. So,
it's right. A face full of slide.
Oh, no.
Yes.
I was always worried about that. I always looked down at that girt bar to make sure it was not connected to the door, or to the floor, I guess, the floor. So when you open the door, it just automatically pulls that thing out of the pack. And interesting.
And I mean, I remember we had a door indicated open as we were taxiing out in Johannesburg. We were just getting to the holding point, and I don't think we'd been given a takeoff clearance, but we must have been close. Anyway, the usual cause on the Airbuses, my Airbuses, was a bit of debris had got around where the door position sensor was. And all you did was crack the door, brush the debris away, and then reclose it. So I sent my first officer belting down the aircraft, because we didn't have a lot of time before we were going to get to the end of the runway, to open one of the back doors. It's a long airplane, the old A340. Anyway, he got all the way down there and opened the door. And it was only when he opened it and closed it again, and it was all fine, it closed and sensed correctly, did I realize I hadn't stopped for him. We were still bowling along down the taxiway. And afterwards, I thought to myself, I wonder what would have happened if he'd fallen out.
You would be
would have
out
been
without a first officer.
And I'm probably without a job. Yeah.
Well, that's
exactly.
true. You may have retired earlier than you did.
Indeed. So I learned a lesson from that, and I hope my first officer did too.
So Al Boxes says, so ultimately, which part of the crew blows it best?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, obviously the flight deck.
I'm going to withhold my
comment.
Answer.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, of course, cargo pilots like I-haul boxes, they're always blowing their own doors, aren't they?
Blowing their own horns and blowing their own doors.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he mentioned that, the issue about the doors blowing open on their own during a rapid decompression is not something that I-haul boxes has to worry about, right? Because they just have a curtain.
They don't even close them.
All right. Well, I just got a message from Miami Rick that says that he is attempting to connect with us. His internet situation is not great, but he is going to make an effort to join us.
Excellent.
In the meantime, though, I think this might be a good time for us to start the middle segment here, the Getting to Know Us segment. Getting to know us, getting to know, or something. I've forgotten all the words. And I've never done the words correctly with this anyway. It's a time of the show where we kind of get together and talk about what we've been doing between shows. And let's start off with Captain Nick. What have you been up to, sir?
Well, not a great deal, actually. It's been foul weather here. I did take the dogs out the other day, and it absolutely blew in a gale and poured with rain. And to add insult to injury, just as I was finishing the walk, I looked around, and Zeta, our new, fully grown now dog, Wiesler, seemed to have turned from her usual shade of orange, ginger, to some kind of slimy green colour because she'd found something very delightful to roll in. So I took her home, and we had to. It was pouring with rain, and I was out there with rubber gloves and dog shampoo, hosing her down and trying to get rid of the odour, which was not the nicest thing. I was just looking forward to having a nice cup of tea. Anyway, so there you go. That's life in the Anderson household. But one thing that did happen, is vaguely aviation orientated, was that the Hawker Association they were on the blower saying, we've had you're coming to us in November. I said, yeah, I'm all planning to talk to you in November. They said, well, one of our talkers has dropped out. He's not well. Is there any chance you could come forward a bit from the 9th of November to next week?
Well,
so I went,
rapid escalation.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm now going up to the Hawker YMCA Community Centre in Kingston upon Thames at 2:00 on Wednesday the 14th to speak to the fine gentlemen of the Hawker Association, and not the Hawker, the Hawker. Association.
I can't say it right, but
and
yes.
I'm talking about life in a hornet's nest. So that's the new talk that I have, that I've only given twice, I think. No, actually once, to Weybridge Royal Aeronautical Society. So anyway, they're going to hear that talk, which they're looking forward to. Other than that, everything is ticking over fine in the Anderson household. Thank you,
Bowling?
Jeff.
What about bowling?
Oh, a little bit of bowling, yeah. I played this afternoon, actually, and won our match of pairs 20 shots to 5. So that was a fairly conclusive victory.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
That's
mind
decisive.
that at all. That's good. Exactly right. So, yeah. And, cover up, which might need a little explanation. So, Frappy La Derriere. We had some interesting...
Always needs an explanation.
suggestions. Some of the stories we covered might explain this. We had a twin otter that had a funny landing near Shark Island in the bay
they were
around
trying to
Sydney
take off,
Harbour.
I think, right?
Were they taking off? Yeah, Sydney Harbour.
They hit something?
Yeah, they
and
they knocked one of their floats off, so they ended up all cockeyed, parked on Shark Island. So that was the basis of this. We've got a twin otter getting airborne, and the fact that it was Shark Island, and someone said, we ought to get jumping the shark. Now, for those of you who don't know, apparently there was an episode of Happy Days where they got so desperate to try and I don't know quite why they wanted to do this, but anyway, they got the Fonz with his black leather jacket to jump over a rubber shark or something. And ever since.
Yeah, water skiing.
Water skiing, was he? It was water skiing over a rubber shark. Anyway, ever since that,
Wait a minute, it was a rubber shark? I thought it was a real shark.
The industry has dubbed any awful attempt to improve ratings as jumping the shark. So we've obviously got Shark Island involved, so we've now got a shark that's jumping, and I assume it's a he shark, has bitten into the floats on this twin otter. Now, the floats are actually inflatable floats. I don't know quite why we needed inflatable floats.
Oh, no, because the journalists, because they saw the word float, they associated a float with something that you go out on the lake or whatever, and you blow up. It's an inflatable. But
there you go. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
not
So
what
we
it
put
is.
inflatable floats on, of which one of
Yes.
which is going down fast because the shark's bitten it,
Yeah.
and of course the Air France incident where they had a bad tail strike is illustrated
that's what
by
that is.
all the multicolored sparks coming off the tail of the Twin
very
Otter.
clever.
And the reason that they're that is because we've associated them with the rainbow-colored unicorns that replaced the engines on this Twin Otter, because Jeff insisted that we had some wings with fixings. Apparently, fixins. Bits on the wing, like unicorns. So we've got inflatable. It all gets very deep, and
I'm not sure how the fixings and the unicorns, were associated and what it had to do with me. I don't know either. But okay, sure. But yeah, what's up with this title?
Well, we had one suggestion, which was La Tail Strike, and then someone tried to translate it into French properly, and I don't think this is a very good one, but we end up with Frappe la derrière. So
it looks good, though.
Hit your bottom, hit the bottom, and that, of course, led to lots of "that's what she said" jokes in the APG After Dark session that we always have at the end of the show. Now, we got the APG logo onto the airplane. That's loud and clear, but the number, I know that Liz had a little problem with the number.
So I tried to kind of increase the contrast a little bit on this, and
I can see it quite clearly without increasing.
Well, of course, because you know exactly where you put the darn numbers. But the rest of us, we have to kind of we don't see that unless you tell us that's where the numbers are. And
there it is, and I'm sure everyone else can see 604 clearly in the sky. So I made it quite easy for you last week. So
you did.
This one was slightly harder.
So you had to go the other direction on this one. I see.
Well, no point having it easy all the time. Otherwise, you get used to it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, another masterpiece.
There you go. Indeed, there were 22 different layers required for this particular image.
Multi-layered artwork from a multi-layered personality.
yeah. And most of those layers are not very good ones.
Well, I wasn't judging the quality of the layers.
Fair enough.
Okay. Me, well, I went down to Tampa. That's where I recorded the last show. And then after that, went to Naples, Florida for the Naples Automotive Experience. And
that's a nice hat you've got on there, Jeff.
Well, thank you. It was a really nice day. Just a couple of clouds in the background.
Yeah. Okay.
And a nice young lady that had joined me in my Chris Craft, I think. Very nice boat. And
very nice boat.
Yeah, it was really nice. Really nice day.
Yeah. Red tie.
Met up with a couple of my buddies, my trumpeting buddies from high school days, to attend the Naples Automotive Experience. It was an auction on Saturday, and then on Sunday, this is where this picture is taken here on the, I think they call it Cars on Fifth Avenue in Naples downtown, where they have all these fancy, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and muscle cars, and all kinds of Bentleys and Rolls Royces, and all kinds of stuff out there. Amazing cars. And so that's, of course, you recognize me over there on the left side from us looking at it. That's Bill in the middle, and he lives in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And then Stan, who lives in Naples, and we were staying at his beautiful home. Really, really nice country club home. So we were standing in front of I'm not even sure, is this a Jag, I think, or I don't know what that is. Maybe that's a Aston Martin, maybe? I can't tell. I don't know my cars very well anymore. I used to when I was younger, but not anymore. It's not a Honda Accord, that's for sure. And then actually the night before, we went to Stan's club house and pool area, and this is at one end of the pool. And in fact, from the vantage of the camera, right behind the camera, not too close though, it's a fire pit that this was thing propped up on. So we were out there by the fire pit, and so after we had done our auction thing on Friday, Bill said, "Hey, look, I'd like to go someplace, Stan, where we can buy a couple of cigars, and because I'd like to, basically smoke a cigar in honor of Jeff's retirement." And so that's what we did. We went to like a smoke shop, a vaping place, but they did have a reasonably good selection of cigars. I don't know anything about cigars and everything else, but we managed to find one for the three of us. No, one for each of us, I should say, not the three of us. We weren't sharing. But you know what? I mentioned earlier, I thought that these guys were hiding their cigars in this photo, but now I've noticed, as it's a little bit larger, that Stan actually does have his cigar in his right hand there. But Bill, the once a politician, knows that you have to be careful in these picture-taking opportunities. So he's hiding his cigar in this photo. But anyway, that's by the pool.
Is that like the ex-president Clinton and his cigar?
No, I don't think it's quite the same connotation with the cigar and Clinton.
Okay.
No.
Just checking.
Yeah. Well, if anything like that had happened, I must have been passed out because of anything like that. Anyway, so it was very nice of us, or nice being with my friends and just talking about things and enjoying a cigar and a nice little drink, a little nightcap.
Brilliant.
So that's,
Brilliant.
I'd like to say that was it for my adventure down in South Florida. So on Sunday, I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at the models, the weather models, not the not the car models, and I could see that it was going to be a rain event potentially. Driving all the way back to Atlanta. So I'm thinking, I'm going to try to get a good, like an early start to try to avoid as much of the rain as possible. So I got up at, 5:15, 5:30 and was on the road by 6 o'clock. And I'm driving down the road, and the first couple of hours, no rain, was, relatively rain free. But I noticed that, I got a cup of coffee and I'm drinking, thinking, my stomach feels weird. I'm kind of little like pangs or whatever, sharp pangs in my stomach, cramps. Yeah, but not bad. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe I didn't get enough sleep or something. I don't know. And then as I continue to drive, and of course now the rain's starting and everything else, I'm starting to feel worse and worse. And I'm thinking, and I didn't get a lot of sleep. I'm thinking, I should probably pull over at a rest stop and maybe recline the driver's seat and try to take a little nap. And so I did that. I forgot where the rest stop was, somewhere in the panhandle of Florida before near Gainesville. Okay, thank you. So I tried to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. And I'm thinking maybe I should just get up and take a little walk. And so I parked way at the end of the rest area because I didn't want to be bothered by a lot of commotion and noise and stuff like that. So I walked across from where my car was and kind of the edge of the parking lot, and there's like a downslope. And I do remember a sign that said, be careful, warning, there are venomous snakes in this area. And I'm thinking, oh, I hope there are not right now. And then I started to feel a little kind of woozy and lightheaded. And I'm thinking, I'm going to faint. And I'm thinking, if I faint, I'm going to go rolling down this incline, and that's not going to be good. So I grabbed on. Luckily, I was standing right next to a tree trunk, and I grabbed onto that, kept myself from passing out. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to get back to the car. And so I walked across to where the car was, and then I thought, yep, my body is telling me that whatever is in my stomach. I'm not sure what's in my stomach because I haven't had anything to eat yet today. I've only had a cup of coffee, but it needs to come out. And so got sick, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this feels like I either have food poisoning or I have the flu or something. But I'm thinking, well, I need to keep going here. I need to get. So I felt a little bit, how you feel a little bit better usually after you expel whatever's in your stomach. So I hit the road again, and of course now the rain just gets worse. and my stomach's feeling bad, and I'm just feeling horrible all the way home. 9-hour drive back to Atlanta.
Jeff,
and
it sounds dreadful.
it was horrible. It would have been bad enough if I'd not had my intestinal issues, but throw that into it, and I'm thinking, I just want to get home. I just want to get back to my apartment. And one of the reasons why I left early, I was hoping to make it back in time for that 5:00 mass on Sunday so I could sing. And I'm thinking, ain't no way I'm going to sing. And so I did text Chris, the leader of the group. I told her that, well, I made it back in time for rehearsal, but I cannot sing because I am sick as a dog, and I'm just going to go straight to bed. So that was my fun time home from that nice weekend. And I found out the next day that Stan, the guy's house that we stayed in, he also had food poisoning. Well, we determined it was food poisoning because Bill, the other guy, he didn't have anything that we had, and he was fine. So, and he had a much healthier diet when we were down there for the weekend, and so his healthiness paid off. He didn't get sick at all. And Stan was sick for a couple days, and the next day, Monday, I felt not bad. Tuesday felt 100%. Wednesday 100%. Yesterday, I don't know. It was like a little relapse. I couldn't hold anything down, and I was sick again. But today, so far, I was hoping that maybe I could crash that little wine and cheese party thing that I kind of stumbled upon a couple of weeks ago after I'd recorded the show up in the little loft area, and I was looking forward to doing that, and there's no way. I just had to go back to bed again and try to sleep it off. So today I'm feeling okay. So hopefully that stays.
I can vouch for how horrible that is, Jeff. So I feel for you, man.
Thank you. I've had food poisoning episodes in the past, and usually for me, it's just like once I get everything out of my system, then I'm good to go. And this time was the first time I've ever had the situation where a couple of days later that it came back, like there's still something in my gut that's living there, some parasite or something. I don't know. Some kind of big, what do they call those things? A tapeworm? Maybe got a giant tapeworm in there or something.
Yeah. Hey, look, they're great for losing weight.
Well, that's what I hear, although I haven't noticed any difference so far. So sadly. Yeah, okay. Coffee fun time it is.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh yeah, coffee fun. Oh hey, I have my APG coffee fun mug of a few years back. Maybe one of these days we need to get some more of these made up. Anyway, Coffee Fund is your way to drink coffee. No, to support our show financially. And a couple of different ways to do that. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic Method, basically a PayPal donation page. And since the last show, yes, Mahoots, Kareem, Dr. Kareem. Oh, he's in the chat room today. Great. So thank you, sir, for your continuous support of our show. We do appreciate you, Mazouz. And also, we have a different way to do it, and you can become a patron of the show via patreon.com. And we have some new patrons. Maybe people felt sorry for us because I mentioned that we didn't have any. In fact, there were a bunch of people leaving. So look at this. We have 3 new producers. We have JP McLaughlin, Carl S. in New Jersey, and Becky Rausch. And so there we go. 3 new producers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And also we have a new executive producer, Jim Pittman, is in that tier. Thank you very much, sir. And then finally, we have someone who has signed up for one of our upper level tiers, senior executive producer level, Mark Z. He's the guy that runs Ops Group. You probably recognize that, Captain Nick. I don't know if you can hear, if you got your ears on or whatever yet. I don't hear you. I think you're muted in some way. Oh, you're not in the you got to put yourself on the stage. So we can
Yeah, lovely guy. I got an email from him today, I think.
Awesome.
Very
yeah.
nice.
He said that he supports what we are doing in our analysis of accidents and incidents and everything so much that he wants to kind of contribute to our mission. And I told him, oh, thank you so much, because he has already offered Captain Nick and I, and we have been taking advantage of it, memberships to Ops Group. And I just want to put in a little plug, put a little plug in for, that was a very noisy plug. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't, a door plug, yeah. A plug in for Ops Group, which is an organization of pilots and dispatchers and other people related to the mission. I'm probably not doing a very good job of explaining this, but the mission of professional aviation out there around the world. And they put out a daily briefing, letting you know what's happening in various places around the world that people should be aware of. Very important things people really need to know. Now, for me, it's nice. I don't have to worry about that anymore, but we get to view this information. Captain Nick and I do every day. And if we find something that is of interest to people that listen to the show, we are certainly going to bring it to your attention. But I just want to let you know, if you're one of those people out there in the world of aviation, especially flying to places like Africa and other places that aren't, well-traveled by commercial flights and that kind of thing, this is an organization you really need to take a really serious look at. It's definitely worth the investment, I would say. And they're also the people, they also have a great sense of humor, which is one of the enjoyable things about reading their daily briefings. But they're the folks that came out with that NOTAM guide. I forgot the exact, the official name of it, but we've covered that on our show a few different times. The original issuance of the Field Guide to NOTAMs, I think is what it was called, and also they did somebody did a video of it as well, which is just hilarious. But these people are actually doing something about trying to make the NOTAM system, they're trying to fix it, and they're not just talking about it, they're actually doing things to make it happen. So we fully support their cause, and so check them out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. What I love about them, Jeff, is that they're people from the sharp end. They're not administrators out there churning out NOTAMs and making a complete hash of it. These are the people who understand which NOTAMs are important, what kind of advice is essential to us aviators who actually do the job, and they highlight the important stuff that you would like to know about when you're going into a strange airfield or an airfield that has a few problems, and bring it to your attention. It's like having a personal briefing from an expert who's been there before and knows all about it. It's brilliant.
Well said, well said. All right, well, we'll make sure we have a link to Ops Group in our show notes for you to take a look at, because I think it's an important, especially for a certain segment of worldwide international aviators out there. So, Coffee Fund, thank you so much for all of you who have contributed to the fund and become patrons. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And if you, listening out there, feel like you want to become part of this great group of folks as well, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll find information about how to join us. You'll be glad you did, and we will too. Oh, excellent. We're going to have some time to cover some feedback. And I don't believe, so it's all feedback from here on out. So I should probably I should probably play the feedback.
No, fly it. We'd like to see
let me
that.
fly it then. Okay, here we go. Starting up the engines. Let's go.
Captain, incoming message.
Alrighty, let's start off with some feedback from Texas and Lashok. He sent us a link to an MSN.com article about the world's largest airship is now a reality as it took flight in California. Airships like Pathfinder 1 are being reintroduced as a refined and eco-friendly mode of transportation, offering an alternative to noisy and emissions, I think. Noisy and emissions-producing aircraft. No, the sentence was correct. I was reading it wrong. Pathfinder 1, the largest airship since the 1930s, is designed with cutting-edge drone technology for efficient cargo transport across extensive distances. So I guess I'm guessing from that it's not piloted by humans on board. Huh. Okay. LTA, Lighter Than Air Research plans to, I guess that's what LTA stands for. Because LTA is another acronym for Lighter Than Air, right? LTA Research plans to develop a family of airships that will not only offer zero carbon passenger transportation, but also assist in disaster relief efforts where traditional infrastructure is inaccessible. Anyway, so we'll have a link to this article, which has a lot of information about Pathfinder 1. Look at that. They're talking about increasingly ambitious flight tests lie ahead before Pathfinder 1 is moved to Akron, Ohio.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
some people might be familiar with a certain company headquartered, well, at least they used to be. I don't know if they still are. Akron,
Goodyear.
Ohio. Yes. Goodyear. Oh, Akron, China. Oh, no. Akron, Ohio is the headquarters of Goodyear, where they have a certain blimp. Let's see. LTA Research is planning an even larger airship, the Pathfinder 3. They hope that the prototype electric airship will kickstart a new era in climate-friendly air travel and accelerate the humanitarian work of its founder, Google co-founder Sergey Brin. Anyway, so they get a little bit more into detail in this article. So if you're interested in lighter than air ships and what's the word, the technical word, main man Micah always, aerostat, there we go. Aerostats and blimps and dirigibles and all that kind of stuff.
Dirigibles, yes, I think dirigible
Dirigibles.
is a suitable name for it.
Well, dirigible, yeah.
Now you see, do you really think this is going to be a success, Jeff?
How do you define success, Nick?
Well, I mean, presumably they're going to fill it with helium, I assume, rather than hydrogen, which is
Probably
an explosive gas.
Yeah.
Except, of course, helium is is not. You can't make helium. There is a certain amount that exists in the atmosphere. It is a rare gas, and every time someone uses it, that's it. The amount of helium left to us becomes a smaller reservoir, and it is in short supply, and you can't make it. You can't recreate it. It's gone. So that's one of my worries about this enormous airship. The other one is, they've never really worked very well. As soon as the wind blows, you're off, and if it's more than the maximum speed you can achieve with your engines, you're off in any direction the wind wants to send you, really. So they're slow, they're huge, they're barely maneuverable. I just can't see it working. I really can't. So they say it heralds a new era of colossal and technology. You put all the technology alike in it. It's still a huge, great big piece of kit that can be blown around by the wind.
I hear at first they were trying to help with the carbon dioxide situation to try to trap as much as they could and then fill it with carbon dioxide in a way, helping with the greenhouse gases and all that kind of stuff. But it turns out that CO2 is not a good gas to use inside of an airship. It never left the ground.
Well,
I'm
it's
just
got to be.
kidding, of course. That was all a joke.
Very good. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
gas.
it. Yeah.
It turns
I
out
think
the
they
carbon
should
dioxide's
actually
not
put
lighter than air.
hydrogen in it.
Maybe.
Hydrogen is easy to make. It is considerably lighter than helium. And its only fault is that it tends to catch fire very easily.
That
blow
could be
up.
a problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, perhaps. Oh, anyway, I'm yet to be convinced about the value of airships. But what does it matter? My opinion is so small compared with everyone else's.
No, we respect your opinion, sir. Looks like Pathfinder 1 there. It's 403.5 feet, 123 meters long, which is more than a football field. And then Pathfinder 3 is going to be approximately 600 feet, which would be 2 football fields in length. Did I get that right? Yeah, 100 yards.
Yeah, but football fields are very flat. This is quite tubular.
Yeah, football fields turns out that don't hold a lot of, lighter than air gas.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Main man Micah mentions, of course, that we need to keep some helium because they're used in a lot of scientific instruments and medical scanners, that sort of thing. And we really do need to hang on to some of it rather than using it to float around. I don't know. He's
What
back.
happened there?
I don't know.
Did I inadvertently take myself out? I was wondering why no one was laughing at my jokes.
Jeff, we never laugh at your jokes anyway.
I don't think I swiped. But I was saying that for party balloons and the opportunity to breathe the helium gas and make funny sounding voices. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best use for helium. Yes.
Yep.
Making funny voices.
Raghu Apadore. I'm sure I just butchered your name, sir. Just a lot of hot air berdashery. Everything about that, including his name, was difficult for me to pronounce. Sorry. I butchered that. Moving on. Yes, ma'am. Oh, that means I have to get this. Whoa. Okay, I'm moving on. This next one is from, do we have to do Tim Van Rams? Okay, well, we feel sorry for Tim.
Tin Van Ram.
Yeah. The old Stapleton Air Traffic Control Tower is opening for tours next month. Of course, how old was this? This is back from...
October 23.
Hey Tim, I don't know what you're reading or doing there on your internet surfing, but this is pretty old. October of 2023. This is the article he ran across from the Denverite newsletter. Tells the control tower at the old Stapleton Airport in Denver is open for tours. Even better, the tours are operated by a brewery. Maybe this was featured on APG previously. No, I don't think we ever talked about this.
That's a nice looking bar they've got in there.
It is.
I think they should have one of those in the Heathrow air traffic control tower as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to check out the old Stapleton Airport. I got to go in and out of Stapleton many, many times in the 90s before they shut it down. And they moved to the new Denver Airport, International Airport. Anyway, it's home to Flight Co. Brewing. And this is back in August of 2022. And that would be pretty cool to check out. So, yeah. That's true, old timer.
Apparently the area is no longer called Stapleton because it was named after the mayor who was in the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, who said that?
Well, that's a bit further down in your
I didn't
article.
read that. Well, that's not good.
Well, there you go.
Now it's called Central Park. Okay. Well, that's okay.
But I still would like to go and visit that bar. And I love the fact that they don't have an F-14 doing a flyby of the tower. They've got a C-47 or DC-3.
Well, if they had this control tower in San Diego, then you'd probably see an F-14 doing it.
That's true, yes,
Flying
yeah.
by.
But I'd love to have a nice cocktail there.
I'll bet. All right. I'm not sure what you just said, but we're going to keep going. This is from, there was like a little hiccup in your signal there, I think. Sam sends us this article as he thought this would be good to cover. Seems like a huge improvement that I hope other U.S. airlines follow. And so what is this all about? Well, the headline is Southwest Airlines. Oh, this is from the simpleflying.com. Not the simpleflying, simpleflying.com. Southwest Airlines is adding Narcan to onboard emergency medical kits. Now, we were talking about EpiPens in the past, and now this airline will update the kits with life-saving medication Narcan throughout this year. That's for, this medication can reverse opioid overdoses. The decision to carry Narcan comes after a passenger pleaded with the airline to carry the drug, and the airline follows 3 other U.S. carriers that already have their fleets equipped with the medication. Yeah, the Narcan is the brand name of naloxone, a medication that reverses an overdose. Okay, we talked about that. Okay. John and Mary Gall from St. Louis, Missouri helped save a man suffering from an opioid overdose on a Southwest flight in 2022, as reported by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. After the man collapsed during the flight, the couple and the other passengers carried him to the back of the plane. Noticing the symptoms of potentially deadly overdose, John administered Narcan with the help of a doctor, prompting the man to awake and come back to his senses. It's a nose spray that can help save a person from an overdose when applied quickly. It's commonly carried by police officers and firefighters, but can also be found in several public places. All right. Interesting. So a little bit more in the article there. Looks like in 2018, the Association of Flight Attendants formally requested that the FAA require Narcan to be carried on aircraft due to the increase in opioid overdoses. However, a year later, the agency only recommended the medication, making American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and United Airlines retrofit their EMKs with the drug. Oh, so Delta does have Narcan in there. Southwest, however, did not. No, I did not know that. Liz, they don't really tell me all those details. Sometimes it's just best not to tell Jeff everything. iHall Boxes in our live audience says mandatory Ozempic shots at check-in as a weight-saving measure. Yeah, I don't think it takes effect that quickly, iHall Boxes, but good thought. Good idea. Oh, all right. What a clown. Okay. Yes, ma'am? Number 6, from Eugene Hurt. Let's see. Hello, APG crew, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, Macho Nick, Dr. Steph, Miami Rick, if you're there, producer Liz, and community. Woo, we covered it all. First things first, Captain Jeff, or can I say now, retired Delta Captain Jeff? Yeah, you can. Happy retirement to you, sir. What an amazing track record of happy landings. So you're able to retire alive.
They weren't all happy. I'm sorry to reveal this, but there was the occasional one that was an unhappy landing.
No, are you kidding me? All happy landings. I wasn't always happy with my landings, though.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I was able to retire alive. Yes, yay! I count that as a win. Honestly, congratulations to your new life after flying, and I really hope you will have a great time roaming in your RV at amazing places. If you fancy to discover Europe, you need just to find an agreement with Miami Rick so he can haul your RV in his 747 at Acme Giant. Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good idea.
Oh, excellent idea. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it fit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of outsized cargo they can. Might take the Dreamlifter though to get me over there, but definitely, or an Antonov AN-24 would definitely it would fit in that.
Or that airship. You could have taken that. Mind you, your RV goes Your RV
Pathfinder
goes
1.
faster than that airship.
Yes, it does. Okay, but now to the meat of my feedback. Lately, I stumbled upon an Instagram post where a video taken from a left-hand passenger seat shows a 737-300 supposedly in Schiphol turning right onto the runway and accelerating for an immediate takeoff. The concern of the video is the unconfigured flaps, which are configured way further in the takeoff run, presumably forgotten by the pilots and configured possibly after the configuration warning. There is a lot of discussion back and
Interesting.
forth about whether it's a standard procedure for short runways to gain takeoff speed. Never heard of that one, but that sounds like a pretty darn good excuse to me. Or pilot's error, simply forgetting to configure the plane. Yeah, I think Eugene has the idea is that they probably pushed the power up, the takeoff configuration warning probably went off, and they go, whoopsies. So don't just disregard that warning, put the flaps to the takeoff position and keep going. I mean, who is going to know? Well, back not too long ago, you could probably get away with it, but not anymore. Let me, why don't we share that, Liz, and I'll hit the play button on that, and we can see this video for ourselves.
Ah, the famous flapless takeoff.
Power's coming up, configuration warning.
Oh, here they come. Got to be doing 50 knots already.
Sorry for the noise. I can't turn the volume down on this Instagram video. And it continues to take off. Okay, we all know the end of the story. Takes off, and then it crashes. No, it did not crash, but yeah. Again, apologies for the really, really noisy volume there. Yeah, so he says, what's your take on this? What are the SOPs at your airlines? Was continuing the takeoff run a good decision, or should they have aborted the takeoff? Is this a thing on GA airplanes? What could go wrong? Look forward to hearing your thoughts. Okay, I'm not sure about GA airplanes, unless he's talking about Georgia airplanes. Most of the airplanes that I flew were, registered in Georgia. No, actually, that's not true. I think most of the airplanes I used to fly were registered in Delaware. I think that's because it's most favorable for taxes and stuff. But and that may or may not be true. So the policy at Delta is, if it's a low speed realm, which it was clearly the start of their takeoff roll. So as Captain Nick was mentioning, about probably around the 50 knot area or so is where we noticed that the flaps started getting extended. So that's, I think for most operators, that's in the low speed realm of your takeoff, and almost anything that happens during that phase of your takeoff is an item that you should abort for. So anytime your takeoff configuration, now again, we're assuming that the takeoff configuration warning did go off in this case. We don't know. We don't have any, audio from that, but we can, I think, pretty strongly surmise that was probably happening. And if that happens in the cockpit, then that is an immediate abort situation, a low speed abort situation. Not anything that you need to throw the power back in idle and put the reversers into full reverse and jam the brakes on for, but more like okay, we're going to tell tower we're aborting the takeoff, and where would they like us to exit, and a nice smooth procedure, and kind of get the airplane configured where it should, and kind of maybe take some notes, and because you're going to need to refer to those notes when you talk to people about what happened. And the tower makes a note anytime that somebody discontinues their takeoff, And so you're not going to get away. So they're thinking, okay, well, if we don't abort, then nobody will know. But in this day and time, we have these systems on our airplanes that tell on us, that record these things happening. And then, of course, we have a lot of people out there with these cellular smartphones that have really nice cameras on them, and they record it, and then they put it up on Instagram and everywhere else in the social media and world.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get away with it, most likely.
No. So was the takeoff, continuing the takeoff run, a good decision, or should they have aborted? Well, I think you've covered that one, Jeff, but my take on this is that if they've forgotten the flaps, one of those safety critical items on your before takeoff checklist, what else might they have left out of that checklist? So that'd be one extremely good reason just for stopping the takeoff, because if you've forgotten one thing, you could have forgotten something else. And, belting down the runway is not the time to start going around and trying to check all the things you should have checked before you even open the throttles. It's the time to stop, regroup, admit your mistakes. And as we know, our industry is amazingly forgiving. If you make a genuine mistake because you allowed yourself to get rushed, or there was a radio transmission in the wrong point in your actions, so you missed an item in the checklist and you didn't realize, all these are lessons that everyone, and it doesn't matter that they've been learnt before, there are always new people coming into the industry, and we need to remind them of these lessons continually so that there's continual improvement in our knowledge throughout the entire industry, all the pilots. And we have a just culture, so that if you freely front up and tell your company or go through one of the anonymous reporting systems that exist in every country, that you've had this problem, then you will be forgiven. Unless you do something like this, which is stupid and deliberate and negligent, and that is the time you'll get your wrist slapped. If you try and cover up your mistakes and try and bluff your way through, you'll be found out and you will be disciplined, and what form that will be will depend upon your company. But if you front up and say, we genuinely made a mistake here, then the company, the industry will look upon you benignly, and you might get some retraining. We could all do with a bit of extra training, and nothing will happen.
Yeah, it's not good for our egos, obviously, to have to go back into the simulator to get some extra training or whatever. But Captain Nick is so right. If you just fess up, you're going to be so much better off, because if you try to hide something, do something out of negligence, or out of like purposely trying to do something that is not right, well, your company's likely not going to be very happy with it, and they're probably going to do everything they can to get rid of you. So you're all what do they say? Honesty is always the best policy, I guess, is
indeed, absolutely
definitely something that we have to in a just culture, for sure. Yeah. What else was I going to say there? Okay. Let's continue on with this from Bill in YYZ, which is Toronto. I don't know. Are you familiar with that area, Miss Liz? No? No idea. Okay. Now, I don't, Bill, you'll have to answer this. Last week, we had a producer, a new, not a new producer, was it? A new producer, I think. No, now I'm confusing myself. I think, is Bill a new patron? Did I miss? I'm not sure if I said Bill, and I might have to add you to our list of new patrons, Bill. Remember, there was a busboy Bill that was I can't remember if it was Coffee Fun Classic or if it was a patron. That's why I'm confusing myself now. But anyway, I remember seeing this in either the Coffee Fun Classic or on Patreon, Bill in YYZ. And so I'll investigate this, Bill, to see if I somehow skipped you, and if so, then we'll make sure that we mention you in our next Coffee Fun segment. Anyway, this guy, Bill, in Salton, which I guess must be near Toronto International. Oh, that's his surname. Never mind. Well, maybe they named a city after him. You never know.
Pretty famous chap.
And by the way, I just looked on the map, and sure enough, Salton is a city right next to the Toronto Pearson International Airport. Don't look. Trust me, Liz. Don't look.
Liz never knew that. Apparently.
Yeah. Well, it was just newly created. Bill is getting a lot of attention on this particular episode. I hope you appreciate it. Anyway, he says, "Hello, APG crew. When the MAX 9 had the explosive decompression recently, people were surprised that the cockpit door opened. I can't speak to the B737, but on the A320, this would be normal. I imagine that both designs are similar. On the A320, the panel on the door itself is only there for the evacuation of the crew and would not blow out during a decompression. And in fact, that panel can only be removed from the flight deck side of the door. Okay, just like the ones that we have on the Mad Dogs and everything else. Because of the palatial size of the A320 flight deck, it is a very large flight deck, by the way. The door opens inwards. I suspect the 737 opens outwards due to its small size. I think you're right. I'm not sure though. If a 320's cockpit depressurizes, the door unlocks automatically, allowing it to swing open into the flight deck, thus equalizing the pressure without physical damage to the aircraft. If the cabin depressurizes, the door can't swing open, so there is a vent in the floor to allow for equalizing the pressure. I suspect that the operation is opposite for the 737 because of the door swing. Thanks for the great show, Bill in YYZ. I've never flown the 737, and it's been so long since I've flown the 727. Of course, the 727, when I flew it, was before, actually, I was flying it during the events of 9/11. And so I never flew the airplane that had a new secure kind of door that we're dealing with now. But I think I agree with him that this was the way things were designed to work. It's just, I think the difference is you, Bill, knew because they informed you that this was a normal behavior. What is kind of head scratching for a lot of people, including the NTSB, is that we never knew on the Boeing 737 and all the airplanes that I used to fly that was something that was normal behavior. They just never told us. It was a secret feature. So that's
well, it
why
was need to know, and obviously you didn't.
Apparently, we did not need to know. I guess there is an argument to be made for that as well. So that was a difference. So yeah, I think he's right. It was probably designed to do that, and I think in the last episode we read that article or some snippets from an article that talks about the fact that that's the way that these doors were supposed to operate. Let's see, the 737, this is from iHaul Boxes, the 737 cockpit door does indeed open outward from the cockpit towards the galley. That's what I thought, So everything is a little bit backwards, I guess, compared to the A320 flight deck because of the way the door swings. But, we make no judgments, people swing both ways, and doors do too.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you go to the right bar, they'll swing both ways.
That is the right bar okay.
You go to the correct bar.
Correct bar, yeah. Okay.
Yes. Where the cowboys go.
Or you could have the salon. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
that's
like
what I
the
mean.
salon doors that open.
Yeah,
the
that's what I
bifold
was.
doors, like a saloon. Yeah, not a salon, a saloon.
Well, yeah, I don't go to many salons. I
don't
must
either.
admit, my hair doesn't need that much treatment.
Yeah, but don't you go to a salon for a massage or whatever? Yeah. Okay. Yes, Liz. I'm sorry. She says this is you're right. This is a great item.
And no, I go to a parlor.
Oh, you go to a parlor. Okay.
Yeah, a massage parlor.
Do you? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good for you. So Gus from Argentina sent us some feedback. He says, "Hi everyone at the APG crew and community. I hope everyone's doing great." Gus from Argentina here. I'm a few episodes behind, so I apologize for the late greetings. Congratulations, Captain Jeff, on your retirement. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. I guess I also should mention the immense achievement of reaching 600 episodes. Congratulations. That's really awesome. I just got back from a long cross-country flight I completed with my Piper Arrow PA-28 for a fly-in event held in Patagonia and wanted to share some details of this little adventure with you. We departed the Buenos Aires, Argentina on Thursday. We departed from Buenos Aires, Argentina on a Thursday at around 6 a.m. for a VFR uncontrolled flight to the southwest. The first flight was 420. We're like holding on for dear life because it was out of control. Oh, no, that's not what you mean. Uncontrolled flight. I guess under the radar kind of flight. The first leg was 420 nautical miles flying over flat terrain with green landscapes.
Are you
crops.
suggesting he was a drug smuggler?
No, I was suggesting that maybe because the airplane was out of control because it was an uncontrolled
Oh,
flight.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to
Fair
make a
enough.
little joke, but as most of my jokes are going today, they're not working very well. Thank you, Liz. That was a good impression of that that bumper. Okay. The first leg was 420 nautical miles flying over flat terrain with green landscapes of crops, rivers, lagoons, and salt flats. After 3.5 hours, we landed at a small airport called Choel. Cue the bell. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to cue the bell. You need to put that before I'm supposed to play the bell. Let's see here. Okay. We landed at a small airport called Choel for a quick refueling stop. The city is located by the Rio Negro, the Black River, right at the north edge of Patagonia. From that point on, the geography changes dramatically with miles and miles of dry desert land. If you have an engine failure over there, good luck finding help after gliding the airplane down to safety. Excuse me, after gliding the airplane down safely. I'm having trouble reading today. We continued southwest towards the Andes for another 350 nautical miles. At around halfway there, the terrain starts to rise slowly, and you can see the eternal snows at the top of the Andes in the distance. Then the magic happens. Inexplicably, the land transitions from dry brown to vibrant green in just a few miles. You start to see lakes and rivers winding around the mountains, and the whole landscape turns amazing. We landed at around 2 p.m. at a small airfield called Trevelin in the Chubut province with an elevation of 1,300 feet surrounded by 8,000-foot mountains. Wow. If anyone wants to find it on ForeFlight, it's just 20 nautical miles southwest of Esquiel, Sierra Alpha Victor Echo, save, and just 15 nautical miles east of the border with Chile. I'm sure Miami Rick has overflown that area many times. We stayed there for 3 full days and had the opportunity to explore the town, visit a local vineyard, and do a few sightseeing local flights while enjoying the camaraderie and sharing with other crews from Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. There were around 40 airplanes at this event. On the way home, we took the panoramic route, flying north parallel to the Andes for about an hour until Bariloche, S-A-Z-S, and to then head northeast towards Buenos Aires. If you want to see more about my flight, here's a YouTube video I put together, and I'm also attaching some pictures. So Liz was showing some of those pictures. If you're listening to the audio-only version, then you'll see those in the show notes. And I do have, we'll play a little snippet of his video. He did have some closed captioning, but I can't figure out how to do that in Keynote. It was downloaded as a separate file, and I haven't figured that out yet. So, yeah, go ahead and put that up there. Thank you, Liz. And so this is in Spanish. Patagonia.
Volar por la Patagonia Argentina y sobre la cordillera de los Andes es una de las cosas más increíbles que puedes hacer como piloto. Comenzamos a planificar el vuelo varios días antes, chequeando la meteorología, las cartas, los espacios aéreos, elevación del terreno y aeropuertos donde parar a cargar combustible. Trazamos una ruta directa de más de 1.400 kilómetros en off-roadways para después partir en tramos más cortos de no más de 30 minutos. Como íbamos a volar sobre montañas, revisamos también las altitudes mínimas para poder hacer una navegación segura por el terreno elevado. Faltando pocos días, revisamos el pronóstico meteorológico desde Windy y los vientos en altura. Con la ruta trazada, estábamos listos para volar.
Buenos días, ya está el avión listo para salir. Nos estamos yendo para Trevelin, 6:15 de la mañana. Tenemos una parada en Choel, después directo para Trevelin.
Here's some footage of Gus and his partner on the flight. Taking off from General Rodriguez Airport. Beautiful video and great music and great narration. I have no idea what they're saying, but I'm sure it's wonderful. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just fade out. But hey, this is a beautiful video that you all would like or probably should check out. So we'll have that in the show notes. Okay, I didn't hear only a little bit about what you just said. I do remember Dr. Steph went down to Patagonia and ran a marathon down there. I was looking for her in the video, but I did not see her. Yeah.
You know the best bit about that video?
What's that?
He had a fluffy, angry bird hanging from
Oh, yeah, he did.
windshield.
You know what? I thought that was pretty cool too. But the thing that I thought was most impressive was, just in case you weren't sure, we know
who the pilot was.
Who the pilot is, because Gus is wearing this baseball cap that said pilot.
Yep. Okay. So you don't even have to embarrass yourself by telling everyone you're a pilot.
No, you just
put the hat on. Yeah, brilliant. That was fantastic, Gus. Well done.
Yes.
And it looked amazing countryside you were flying over. Stunning mountains. It looked superb. Really am jealous of you living in such a wonderful part of the world.
I met up with Gus some months back and talked about it on our show. He was down in, I think, Fort Lauderdale, somewhere like Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And I think he is owns a company that has an office there. And he was returning to Argentina, and he purposely went through Atlanta so that he could have a meetup with me. And
brilliant!
So had some coffee, and I got to meet him in person. For the first time, and got to see him off on his flight to Argentina, and that was a great time. So thank you, Gus, for showing us that, and beautiful job on the video editing and all the music and everything else. So yeah,
absolutely.
So we highly recommend that you watch his video. It's on YouTube, so we'll have a link to it, and it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm very jealous of you, and particularly that beautiful vineyard. I like the look of that.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left, so we're going to we're going to forge on. Now this was pretty cute. Becky in our community sent this in, and it's a link to a YouTube video. It's some sort of a boarding announcement. So let's see. Thank you, Liz. Let me hit this and take a listen.
We will begin with our active military members and veterans. Thank you for your service. Welcome aboard. We'd like to continue with our school teachers who spend all of their extra time explaining Sign Up Genius to clueless parents and spend all of their extra money on magic markers because our children left the caps off of them. Thank you and welcome aboard. Next up, any moms who packed for themselves, their children, and perhaps their husbands. Welcome aboard. Again, that's just the moms, dads. Nope, hang back with the kids if you don't mind. Give moms a chance to breathe. Maybe take a tequila shot. If you have an Android and everyone keeps shaming you for not having an iPhone, welcome aboard. Next up is nurses. Welcome aboard, nurses. Doctors, no, you're great, but you get all the credit. They do all the work. Nurses, welcome aboard. Okay, next up, anyone who volunteers to coach a kid's sports team and puts up with parents who thinks their child is the next LeBron James. He is not the next LeBron James. You are welcome to board. Okay, if you work at an animal shelter, you are welcome to board. If you volunteer at a local election site, you are welcome to board. If you work retail during the holiday season, welcome aboard. Okay, we all caught up? Okay, I guess first class, you guys can come on now.
Very good.
Well done. This is
Very good.
the headline, or the title of this is How We Should Board Planes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
He didn't mention flight attendants traveling on staff. They should get in there as well. They
Yeah.
have a pretty rough job most of the time. They need a treat.
I agree. All right. Yeah, we can do that. Let's shift down to, let's hit this one. Kind of a little bit of a follow-up from Tim Qualls, Tim Q, he calls himself. So extremely bored, maybe? So he wrote in, let's see, this is not his first email. Okay, I'll start right here. Wow, way to make sure I don't get bored anytime soon on, and this is because I kind of asked him a question after he sent his original email, and which required him to do a little bit more research. But anyway, here we go. On APG 603, during the discussion of the number of firearms that had been seized by the TSA in 2023, I ended up, let's see, I don't have it available. I should have. Okay. Now I'll do like this.
Yeehaw!
I ended up curious. Oh, did that hit you?
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry about that. I ended up curious how those numbers actually compared based on the number of passengers that went through the airport in that year. Based on that, ATL ended up dropping to last place. A good thing in this case, I would assume. Yes, it is. What did surprise me a bit is that the overall percentage is as low as it is. I'm not even sure how to state those percentages. Granted, even one gun getting through and being misused would be bad. It's interesting that the focus is always on such a small percentage, but I guess that news is more exciting than talking about that news is more exciting than talking about the 99.9999475% of passengers who were not carrying guns. Note that DFW only had updates their numbers 45 days after the end of the month, so the number of passengers there is an estimate of the number they will have through the end of the year. They had 74.1 million through November. So he did this little table with the data, and because I think he probably did this because I kind of asked when we were talking about this on episode 603 that Atlanta was at the number one, and I said, well, that might have something to do with the number of passengers that go through screening in Atlanta, and so that's when Tim got to work. Now, what I did was the reason why he came back and said, "Wow, way to make sure I don't get bored anytime soon," is that I said, well, okay, but those numbers that you're using, are they numbers of people that are actually being screened at those airports, or just people that are going through those airports? And I'm thinking like a couple of these, like Nashville and Houston Intercontinental, maybe even Phoenix, but maybe not so much Phoenix. But Nashville for sure. Probably most of the people that are counted in this number are people that are originating their travel from Nashville, right? So they all have to go through security. Whereas Atlanta, that number may be a little bit off because that number of through passengers, I'd say 80% or more of the passengers that go through Atlanta are connecting through Atlanta. They've already made it through screening wherever they started their travel, so they don't go through Atlanta security. But regardless, I think that yes, it probably would change some of these percentages, but we're talking about, for instance, Nashville, number one, 0.000858%. So, very, very teeny, tiny. Yeah, exactly, that word. I know
That's
that if I
a
try to say
very good
infinitesimal.
point, Jeff. And it just goes to show that the vast majority of people are law-abiding and don't try and carry firearms. The figure, though, we really need to know, and Bill, Tim, I don't know how you're going to get yourself these numbers, the percentage of firearms that are discovered against the percentage that aren't discovered. Because that gives you a true indication. If you wanted to carry a firearm onto an aircraft, that's the number you'd need to know. Have I got a good chance of getting it through without it being detected? And of course, we have no idea about that number.
We really don't. We can hope that there's a good chance that they're going to discover that weapon and you're not going to be successful making it through security. But we don't really, as Captain Nick makes a great point, we don't know really for sure, and we'll never know.
But it is lovely to know that the huge majority of people in America are responsible people and treat their firearms sensibly.
I kind of feel bad because I did ask him that follow-up question, and he says, I can't find the yearly total screened for each airport. I did find their throughput numbers for people screened, but there's not a yearly total, and they have it broken down by week and then by each hour of the day and then by the checkpoint. If I can get each of them moved over to Excel, I could get them fairly quickly, but I tried it with one of the reports and Excel quit responding. He said it's a long spreadsheet. So I guess
have you got an ordinary computer or have you got a Mac?
I don't know.
Just curious.
I'm not sure. In this case, I don't know if it would have made any difference. But anyway, well, thank you, Tim, for that. I suspected that, I guess the main thing I was kind of defending my home airport for the last 30-something years, Atlanta International. I'm thinking, the number is going to be kind of bigger because of the sheer number of passengers that they screen. But anyway, so thanks for the good college try, but I think you made your point. And the thing I love about it is it pretty much backed up what I was saying. That's the best part.
Cool.
All right. Another one from Becky Rausch. And she asks, do pilots have much work they do outside of flight hours? I'm guessing when you go for a new type rating, you study. Do you brush up before recurrent training? Did you ever look at your EFB for info if you signed up for an airport you hadn't flown recently? If I document my patient notes at night because I have a hard time documenting during the appointment. Many PTs, physical therapists, never take work home because they multitask better. Even if I could get a Class 1 medical, I don't multitask well enough to fly. I'm lucky to walk and talk at the same time. Oh, Becky, I'm sure you're better than that. But Liz has the answer to what we do outside of flight hours. And pop that one up again. That's what we do. We sit,
of course,
in a sofa or couch or whatever, however you want to call it, or a easy chair, with our uniforms on, our hat bill over our eyes, fingers, hands crossed, and sleep.
And of course, our loved ones always think that our flights are actually holidays because that's the only time they go on a flight. It's when they go on a holiday. So after a 4 or 5 day rotation, half around the world and back again, they assume we have just been enjoying ourselves. And when you come home, there's a huge list of, what do you call them? Honeydews?
Yep.
honey-do list. We call it around to it. The jobs that are waiting for you on return, which keep you busy. But I don't know, Jeff, being truthful, did you do a lot of study outside, work?
I'm sorry. I'm sure whatever you said was really funny.
No, I was asking if you did a lot of study outside work.
Now I can hear. I'm sorry. How long have we been recording? 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
There always comes a time. Yeah, there always comes a time on this machine that, and my internet is always really, really good here. So I don't think it's internet. It's something going on with my machine that just, it has the symptoms of bad bandwidth, coming in. And so basically you were all Skypey there regarding, asking me about studying and that kind of thing. But what I can say is that the only time that I really have to hunker down and or buckle down and really get into the books is right before recurrent training every 9 months. And it's always, I always go, oh, woe is me, and I hate it and everything else. But I always went. Okay. Oh, that's right. Went. Yeah. I don't do it anymore. Well, as far as you know, maybe I still study and pretend that I'm going to recurrent training. I would never
just
do
to
that
make yourself feel miserable.
I absolutely hated recurrent training, the worst part of the job. Anyway, yeah. So in usual style for Jeff, I like to cram things in as far as studying is concerned. I know, dirty minds, stop it. Hal Boxes says, I study the overhead panel a lot. Yeah, with your eyes closed, right? I study the inside of my eyelids. But
yeah.
So that's, and then, so I did, obviously, I think we all do when we're studying for recurrent training, when we're getting a new type rating, especially. There's a lot of information that was not in our cranium until, we got into a new fleet, and then we have to kind of dump as much of the stuff in there that we have for the old fleet and bring in all the new information for the new fleet. And you know what? Sometimes some of that old fleet information still kind of likes to hang on in your brain, and you start stating limitations and other performance numbers for the previous airplane that you had flown. I mean, I'm sure we all are guilty of that. But as far as the EFB, looking into at the EFB for an airport that I haven't flown to ever, or very rarely fly in, or has been a while since I've flown into, absolutely. We definitely do our best to prepare ourselves as best as possible when we're going into a place that we hadn't flown recently. And for me, the 35 years that I flew for the airlines, most of it domestic flying, I got a chance to go to a lot of these airports over and over and over again. And every now and then, especially on this latest fleet that I was flying, the Boeing 717, because it was the smallest airliner I've ever flown, we flew to some smaller operations destinations than I'd ever flown before, and I'd never been to in my previous decades. And so, yeah, so I had to do a lot of studying, and I always use my first officer as a valuable resource in those situations when I'd say, hey, have you been here? What is it that I need to be aware of? Or, are there any gotchas? And, help me out. Don't be a secret squirrel. If there's something that you think I should know about, don't assume that I know, that kind of thing. Using your cockpit resources well is always an important thing as well. But yeah, although, the percentage of time spent studying between flights is probably pretty low. Yeah, it's like those percentages that Tim Qualls just gave us for the number of handguns discovered through security screening points. I think so. Hang on. Let me go. Let me find it. I'll let you know. Yep, I do. Should I play it? Okay, Liz is telling me to play this. Breaking news from iHaul Boxes. A Challenger 600 crash. Ooh, on I-75 in Naples. Yikes, there's a... Oh, no. 2 dead and 3 escape. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Well, should we actually see if we can... Okay, we'll cover it. We'll cover it on the next show. Thank you, iHaul Boxes. You know, I remember when I was in downtown Naples for Cars on 5th, the Naples Executive Airport was not too far away, and there was a constant stream of bizjets. The winds were such that the bizjets were taking off and flying right over Fifth Avenue during that event on Saturday. So I could definitely see how I could see the proximity of the airport, and I-75 is right there. Interstate 75 is right there. Wow. Oh boy. Okay, we're going to do our last piece of feedback, and then we're going to wrap it up. This is a good one. Captain Jour, congratulations and celebrations, dear APG crew. Always late to the party I am, but I would like to warmly congratulate you all on reaching the 600 episode mark. Thank you very much. Captain Jeff in particular on reaching pensionado status. Did I say that right? By retiring after an illustrious career. Well, thank you for saying so. The last few months I've been suffering a severe bout of APG syndrome and might even be guilty of being a super spreader. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
That's not good to hear. I've been working my way back through the archives from the low 600s to the high 400s, doubling the recent festivities by listening to the famous 500th episode as well. What a wealth of content it is. Yeah, that 500th episode, we did a lot of time going back in our first 500 episodes and kind of, bringing up ones that were our favorites and that kind of thing. So that's a great way of kind of, reviewing the highlights anyway. Back to Azure's feedback. I really get the feeling of getting to know you one episode at a time. Well, thanks. There's no substitute, but there is no substitute for the real thing. As long, wow. I can tell it's getting toward the end of the show because I can't read. Of course, I couldn't read at the beginning of the show either. So anyway, but there's no substitute for the real thing. As luck has it, I'm flying to ATL on March 9th. Maybe there's a chance for an APG meetup. I'd love to sample some local beer and barbecue and deliver some dang hoppy IPAs from the other side of the pond. Yeah, he brought some IPAs last time I met up with him, and they were really, really tasty. Anyway, warm regards to you all, and Blau Boven, blue side up, Captain Jour. And he also sent us in a picture. He says, P.S., since December, I've reached a bit of a milestone myself in passing the 15,000 hour mark with Acme Blue. Wow, that's great.
Good job.
Oh,
very good.
He forgot
Excellent.
to kind of blur out the actual airline. And being the oldest airline still operating under its own name, well, just do a Google search and you know who he's talking about. We're a young 104. Wow, there are some nice traditions. One is presenting a lovely gold lapel pin holding a small diamond to be worn on our uniform when you reach that number. There are different ones for 10,000 and even 20,000 hours as well. Please find enclosed a picture of my new trinket. Quite chuffed. You should be. That's very, very nice.
Well, if they give you a diamond for 15,000, what on earth do they give you for 20,000?
2 diamonds, maybe. I don't know.
Well, hang on, you get 1 diamond for 10, you get 2 for 1.5 for 15, and you get 2 for 20. But Didn't seem to work.
I'll try to remember to ask him when I get to see him on
Yeah, I
March
want to
9th.
know what stone they prefer. Mind you, of course, it's easy for these guys in Holland because Amsterdam is the diamond center of the world, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they're probably just laying around on the street.
Yeah, you just pick them up as you're walking around.
Like if you walk barefoot, it's a danger because you could actually step on one and it's like very painful. No, yeah, the streets aren't paved with gold; they're paved with diamonds. That's for sure. So, okay, iHall Boxes says that's a nice way for your employer to say, "We made you work your rear end off."
Very good.
That's true. And I believe my final tabulation, and although I wish I'd kind of gone in there and actually got the final tabulation of the number of hours that I flew total at Delta, and no, I don't think that I have access to that information anymore. But it was, I could probably get it. Anyway, I know it was more than 23,000 hours at Delta, and then another couple of thousand in the, or maybe I'm, I don't know. I think my total hours, including my Air Force hours, is close to 24,000 hours total. So a lot of time spent in airplanes in my life, and I'm ready to spend more time now on ground vehicles. Anyway, yep, it is time to wrap. Thank you, Captain Jura. And before we move on to our wrap up, I want to say, for those of you listening who live in the Atlanta area, let's do this. Let's do some kind of a meetup and I believe March 9th is a Saturday. I think I looked at my calendar. And so wouldn't it be nice to kind of do an Atlanta APG meetup? Okay. And Captain Jura wants to imbibe some beer, local beer, and barbecue. And I think we can do that. And so if any of you want to contact me with any ideas for a meetup here in the Atlanta area on March 9, send an email to me, meetup@airlinepilotguy.com, and in the subject line, put up like ATL meetup, if you don't mind. And that way we'll be able to, for March 9, 2024. And let's do this right. All right. So as producer Liz says, it's time for us to wrap it up. And we always do that by pointing you over toward our website, airlinepilotguy.com, where you'll find information about the crew and the community and the library and merchandise and more information about each of the plane tales that Captain Nick so lovingly creates.
Oh, I'm up to date. I have published all the current plane tales.
Even including the last one? Volume 25?
Yeah, they're all there.
Very nice. Great. So we're all caught up, both Captain
So I
Nick
need to
and
write
myself.
some more.
Yes. And the audience just absolutely loves your plane tales, as do all of us here.
You're very kind.
And there's so much more. Just check out the website if you don't mind, airlinepilotguy.com. And we are also on social media, or what I like to call the social meds. Captain Nick, please do the honors.
Of course, if you're a fan of Faceplant, then Airline Pilot Guy is our handle there. Just do a search for that. It's all one word. And if you go to Twitter, at APG Crew. Slightly confusing, but because it's different, but never mind, you'll get the hang of it. Instagram, very similar, APG Crew, just take off the little @ sign. And the only other one really is YouTube, where, of course, you can watch the fabulous making of APG, the stinky sausage in all its glory. And that is youtube.com/Airline Pilot Guy, all one word.
I have some advice for you, though. If the sausage is stinky, I recommend that you don't eat it.
Well, Jeff did, and you know what happened to him.
Well, that was my mistake, the food poisoning. All right, and also we are on Slack. And,
and before we go, never mind.
On, Hold on.
Right, tell Hillel to stop. Hush, hush, Hillel, hush.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Yeah, okay, just be wet, just be wet. Look, Hong Kong Nigel is heading off on a flight this very evening, so safe travels, Nigel.
Oh, yes. Safe travels, Nigel. Where is he heading to?
He's heading east to a lovely island of mystery.
Ooh, I think I know where that is.
Da-da-da.
Awesome. Hope you have a wonderful flight and a wonderful time there. I don't know how you couldn't. All right, very good. Always good to see you, Nigel. So getting back to, okay, Hillel, we're ready for you now.
He's probably
APG
made a big
listeners,
puddle.
Please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Good job, Hillel.
It's in the
Yes,
soap
it does,
dish.
doesn't it?
I think he said, where's the soap?
Yeah, I know. That's that famous joke.
Oh.
Two nuns in a bath. One says, "Where's
I'm
the
sorry,
soap?"
I
And
ruined
the
your
other
joke.
says, "Yes, it does, doesn't it?"
I'm terribly sorry.
Took me about 2 years to understand the punchline, by the way.
I'm not sure I understand it, but maybe you can explain it to me after the show.
Good idea.
And oh, look, here's Liz. She's making herself
Here I am.
visible.
Sorry, my audio and video were not good today. I'm sorry.
Well, it sounds
Yeah,
fun.
they
It's
were.
only on Unity that it was doing the weird stuff. That's
weird.
really strange.
Hmm.
I've never heard it do that. Anyway, you sound great to me, and your picture looks wonderful and beautiful as ever. Thank you so much, Liz.
Good show, guys. Really good show.
For everything you do behind the scenes and all that.
Yeah, thanks, Liz.
Oh, and so Liz asked me if I wanted to mention again, just a reminder, if any of you are out there and you have a space in your driveway or you're in front of your house or on your property somewhere for me, future Jeff in his RV and the APG mobile studio traveling North America, and you want to host me for an overnight or two, send that information to rv@airlinepilotguy.com. That's Romeo Victor at airlinepilotguy.com.
And we already have
You've
3 entries. 3
I was
people.
going to say, who was the first one to write?
It was Burns, Kansas. It was just a minute.
Yeah, so
I thought it
in
was
Burns,
someone
Kansas.
who lived in a houseboat on the Mississippi.
Dell and Tracy Lowe. Dell and Tracy Lowe.
Dell and Tracy in Burns, Kansas.
I'm not sure that's right. I'm pretty sure
It
it was
is.
somebody else.
Yeah, well, we got the
okay,
trash.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did receive, the first email was from a certain Captain Nick, I'm thinking, and it was not nice.
Well, I was only
exactly.
suggesting
That's what we
you
think.
park up near the houseboat in the Mississippi.
Yeah,
That
I
was
know.
all.
That was very...
iHole Boxes says they should add if they have a large hole for poop pyramids.
Very large hole, knowing
you don't
Captain
need to-
Jeff.
you don't need to give me that information. I'm not
Okay.
planning on emptying my my black tank
Effluent.
at your property. So don't worry about that.
I'm affluent. He's talking about effluent.
Affluent, not fluent. Or affluent, yes.
Yes.
What else was
Thanks,
I gonna
everybody.
mention?
Let's.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you're going to have another meetup. Yep.
Yeah, I'm having probably a private meetup. I don't know. Maybe if somebody contacts me, we can accommodate you as well. But our brand ambassador, our brand manager, Jim Mercado, the genius that came up with our logo, is going to be in this area of the country. He lives on the West Coast, but he's going to be in Knoxville for an event. And why is my little logo showing over there?
Because that's our logo, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, well, certain Oh, I see what you're saying. That's the logo I'm talking about. Yeah. Anyway, he is there for a Cirrus event, and then he's going to drive down from Knoxville
Seriously?
to Atlanta. It's a serious event. He's going to be driving down to Atlanta, Roswell, and we're going to meet up and have lunch, dinner, or both. I don't know.
February 24th.
February 24th. So that's coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to just spending time with Jim. We don't need to talk shop. But knowing Jim, he probably will. But anyway, just looking forward to meeting up with you, Jim. And so if anybody else is perhaps interested in hanging with us as well, that's going to be February.
Great guy.
24th, so contact me. All right. And with that, look at that.
Oh, there's Zeta.
In the well, now part of
Lap dance, giving Nick a lap dance.
Well, okay, if you say so. I guess before we get into any more trouble, let's go ahead and just wrap this thing up completely. And tell
Good
everyone. Thank you everybody in the live audience. Thanks for showing up, and wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care and God bless.
Bye, everybody.
See you next time.
Wow, that was a delayed reaction on my end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your recorder off, Jeff?
Yeah, let me turn it off. I didn't start it right away, but I got some of it anyway.
Oh, Nigel's come up with some show titles.
Oh, that's good. Let's see what he's got. Because I've got a few, but I don't think they're great.
Okay. So I got the last
Runaway Runways.
hour. No, 2 hours.
Love
Yeah,
it.
I've got sort of something similar there. I've got off-roading in my airliner. I've got That's the Way the Door Swings.
Yeah.
This show is full of hot air because we were talking about air or stats or whatever. And then this was one I know you'll love, Nick. It's for the British Airways pilot. Captain, stand back from that slide.
Absolutely.
Captain, don't touch that door.
Here, Micah's got one here.
Splish splash. It's an Airbus bath.
Mm-hmm.
That's cute.
Love it.
I'm not sure we'll go with this one, but AI Hall Boxes has this one, which I won't read.
No. Squeezing one out. Or how about poop pyramid?
Well, we could you do squeeze play.
Squeeze play.
Because they were doing squeeze plays on those takeoffs and go-arounds, right?
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. My mind was somewhere else for squeeze play.
Yes, mine was too.
Okay. Because I was still thinking about is squeezing one out.
Do you think you got something to go with there, Nick?
Yeah, disgustingly. Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah,
yes.
I know. I'm kind of wishing that we talked about some of the things we just talked about. I gave Nick some ideas. Yeah, good.
Ooh, that plane crashed into cars on I-75, apparently.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, kind of. How could it not have? Because the thing is going so fast, right?
Yeah, two
Was that
double
a song, Splish Splash?
Yeah, splish splash, I was taking a bath long about a Saturday night. Pilot reported both engines had failed.
Oh,
wow. How would that happen? Fuel contamination?
He was coming in for a landing,
ran out.
apparently.
Oh.
Won't be the last, won't be the first to run out. Yeah.
Bad pictures.
Cheers,
bad
Nigel.
pictures.
Enjoy the flight, mate. I hope they give you a
Yeah,
good
have
sleep.
a good time, Nigel. Safe trip.
Thanks, Nige. Always good to see you.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I just got from my friend who lives in Naples, 2 exits from where you got off I-75.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. You were down there this time last week.
After surviving a very long career, it would have been a bit of a worry if you had been taken out by an airliner crashing onto your car, though.
Yeah, it would not have been
ironic.
No.
There's some video here of the. You can still see
I know.
the
I've
tail.
got some.
Yeah, and the fire. Well, something's burning. There must have been some fuel on board that thing.
All right.
Unless they crashed into a car and the car caught on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, here's.
Thanks everybody for joining us.
John Deere R-Bus. What's one?
Well, John Deere is a tractor, so they're sort of saying that, how he was plowing up the field. So R-Bus.
What's
Airbus? Airbus?
Mm-hmm. John Deere R-Bus.
Recreational bus? I don't know.
I haul boxes. Explain yourself.
No, he's gone, I expect.
Thanks, Mazoots, as always, for your support,
Airbus.
Financial support. We do appreciate you.
Yeah, Airbus. Okay, bye, everybody. We're going to end the broadcast.
Bye.
See you next time.
You're all fuzzy, Liz. Why are you fuzzy?
I don't know why I'm fuzzy, but we'll end it now. I'm going to end it all.
Oh, no,
Bye.
don't, Liz.